We'll start with Mrs. Allen.
Present.
Mr. Franks.
He's on.
There you go. All right, Mr. Harrison.
Present.
Mr. Lindsay.
Present.
Ms. McLemore.
Present.
Mr. Orr.
Present.
Ms. Peterson.
Present.
Ms. Szilagyi.
Present.
And the chair is now present. All right, item number 1, consideration of resolution 2020-75, a resolution declaring that the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission shall meet on May the 28th, 2020, and conducts its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location, because it's necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in the light of the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm glad that we are protecting the whole state while we're here separated into our homes. Is there anyone that wishes, on the public side, anyone wishes to comment on this wonderful statement? All right, I see none, then we will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Scott and Alma. All right, this has come up on Civic Core now. Okay, you'll notice this vote now will come up on Civic Core, but I'm going to also read it aloud. Vote either aye, no, recuse, or absent. If you vote absent, I'm going to really worry about you. Ms. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Franks.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay.
Aye.
Ms. McLemore.
Aye, but I don't have a prompt on my computer.
Okay. Mr. Orr.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson.
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right, real quickly, the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission meeting will limit physical access in the meeting room due to current limitations on public gatherings to prevent further spread of COVID-19 and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the City of Franklin officials, staff, and citizens. Accommodations have been made to ensure that the public is able to participate in the meeting. The public may participate in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts, call 615-550-8420 to listen to the meeting during the specific public comment period. Please be aware that callers cannot be muted by the staff on the conference line, so be mindful of background noise or use your own mute feature until time to speak. All callers should do their best to speak one at a time during the public comment period, since neither staff nor the chair will be able to tell who is on the line. Emailed comments were accepted until 5 p.m. today, and all emails have been provided to the Planning Commission in advance of the meeting. Limited viewing will be available in the lobby of City Hall to watch the live video. All right, now I will entertain a motion for the minutes for the April 23rd meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I.
Ms. Peterson? Okay, thank you. All right, proper motion is there. Let's see, we'll go down through the vote. You need time to set up. Okay. Mrs. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Franks?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore?
Aye.
Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Ms. Salaji,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye for unanimous. All right, now, this is for items that are not on tonight's agenda. If anyone listening now wants to place an item on the agenda or have it considered for an agenda item that's not on our agenda, please comment now, and we'll consider that. Okay, I'm hearing none. Staff, any comments from anywhere else? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to citizen comments of items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you have a discussion you want to have with the commission for things that are not on tonight's agenda, please comment now. Okay, I hear none. Then we'll move on to item number 3, which is consideration of our consent agenda. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lindsay, our vice chair, because I've got an item on this consent. So passing it on to him. Roger, it's your meeting now.
Thank you, Chairman Hathaway. So item number 3 is a consideration of items on the consent agenda. These are items deemed by the Planning Commission to be non-controversial and routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. The items on the consent agenda will not be individually discussed. Any member of the Planning Commission, city staff, or the public desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed and placed on the regular agenda. It will be then be considered in its printed order. So are there any items that any commissioner wants to pull from the consent agenda? These are items number 4 and items number 11 through 18 on the agenda. Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Move to approve, Scott.
Second, Alma.
Okay, I'm going to go through roll call vote then. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay, aye. Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Shalagi.
Aye.
Okay, and Chairman Hathaway is recused from this vote. Okay, so I will turn the meeting back over. Now, wait a minute, we've got item 4 is, okay. So we're ready to go to item number 5, correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Roger.
Turn the meeting back over to Chairman Hathaway.
Okay, thank you. So item number 5 will be consideration of ordinance 2019-55, an ordinance to rezone 1,520.03 acres from PD Plan District 1.8/500,000 district and detached R1 district to Plan PD 2.31/250,000 district for the property located south of Highway 96 and west of Boyd Mill Pike, West Haven PUD subdivision. Staff?
Good evening, Commission. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from PD 1.8500 to PD 2.31/250,000 to accommodate the proposed development plan revisions for the West Haven PUD subdivision. This rezoning changes commercial entitlements from 500,000 square feet to 250,000 square feet. Currently, 178,000 commercial square feet exist in West Haven, so this leaves approximately 72,000 for future commercial development. Residential dwelling units will go from 2,750 units to 3,516 residential units. An additional 7 acres are being added to the project area from the previous approved development plan. and the development plan has been submitted concurrently with this. Envision Franklin identifies this area with the design concepts of mixed residential and neighborhood mixed use. Planned development zoning is an appropriate zoning for these categories. The majority of this project area has been historically zoned SDX and had similar entitlements as to those that are asked for in this revision. Staff does recommend approval of ordinance 2019-57 to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right, thank you very much. Now we'll open comments for public comments. Anyone that we want to bring to the meeting, please.
I think first we are going to take emailed comments. Due to the number and the length of the emailed comments received, we are not able to go through every one individually. We are going to provide a summary in detail of the comments provided and a list of names of everyone that sent us emails, and Diana will provide that now.
Okay, so we received emails concerning West Haven Revision 5 from the following people: R. Hahn, S. Drennan, C. Knotts, W. Crunk, A. Biagini, C. Turner, D. Waits, M. McCutcheon, D. Cross, K. Whitfield, H. Serranio, L. D'Amico, J. Rons, J. Friedman, T. Clark, B. Bruner, N. Clark, B. Boland, R. Clark, R. Parrish, B. Davis, S. Jones, R. Goodwin, G. Detloff, T. Baldwin, R. Hughes, K. Peterson, R. Rust, S. Morris, C. Aquino, C. Townsend, D. Mills, T. Weyerscheik, S. Carino, N. Ferris, P. Boland, T. Polak, J. Kelly, J. Robb, T. Clark, C. Long, L. Carlin, R. Miles, S. Bunch, A. Arnold, J. Carino, S. Seaford, S. Schlick, N. Graver, G. Long, M. Morther, T. Tinbrink, J. Baker, K. Landry, J. Alexander, S. Harrison, F. Arnold, D. Jones, P. Hinnenberry, J. Atnip, W. Little, P. Dixon, R. Nydrick, K. Moore, Carlisle HOA, S. Hall, C. Long, A. Beaumont, J. Orman, H. Hackney, C. McKinley, J. Ovier, K. Stree, B. Baldwin, S. Harrington, K. Crook, D. Mowry, J. Walker, J. Frazier, R. Tiade, T. Anderson, A. Bouvier, S. Poe, M. Cowden, J. Arthur, F. Shavnig, J. Wright, A. Campbell, J. McKinney, M. Magellanis, R. Schmidt, R. Rose, P. Mittig, M. Lammy, M. Fernandez, S. Nydrick, J. Walker, Cornerstone HOA, D. Pick, J. Scoggins, A. Russell, C. Witt, T. Bassiano, B. Hahn, J. Hayworth, D. Stevens, and M. Stevens. So I've done my best to summarize the comments and use the original language that was in the emails themselves. And so I'm just going to go through and read this in this orderly fashion as I possibly can.
And just real quick, Diana, I do want to mention that all of the emails have been provided to the Planning Commission in their entirety, and the emails in their entirety will be recorded in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, let me get to the top of this now. Okay. Health and safety. Financial gain and convenience should not be a bigger priority in our community than the health and well-being of the neighborhood. A gas station will diminish the quality of life through noise and lights close to residents. The gas station poses a health risk due to the release of benzene, a known carcinogen which travels easily. Benzene has been proven to cause blood cancers. The emissions from gas pumps will go to the elementary school, and there is no amount of venting that will make the exposure safe. Effects of benzene are amplified in younger populations. 90% of cancers develop from environmental exposures. We can stop this. The Environmental Protection Agency recommends that schools be at least 1,000 feet from gas stations. The gas station is in an assumed 1,200 feet from the elementary school, but we won't know exactly at this stage. We have the science that tells us a high risk is associated with gas emissions. It is important that we act locally to protect our children here in Franklin. Cancer is on the rise astronomically, and we can act locally to help stop that rise and protect our children. In the original proposal, the pool was next to the gas station. Southern Land has now taken the pool away from the area. Should we construe this to mean that they acknowledge the harmful effects of benzene? The gas station is 600 feet from an active stream, and it is possible for runoff containing noxious chemicals to make its way to the stream. Benzene from this will affect the health of 700 plus elementary school children located near the gas station. Gas stations are a health concern for the elderly and children. A gas station is a fire hazard for the community. If a fire occurred, the entire east side of West Haven would be in the evacuation zone. A gas station would have an high impact vapor fire that could be deadly. 1 in every 13 gas stations has a fire. The odor and noise from the gas station will be detrimental to the quality of life. A gas station near the entrance of the neighborhood creates a negative impression and will be markedly different entrance than the other West Haven entrances. Mac Hatcher does not have another gas station this close because we already know it would be negative. A gas station would not be allowed in Fieldstone Farms, so why is it allowed here? Berry Farms gas station is 2,324 feet from residential homes. Single-family homes in West Haven will be within 500 feet. If a gas station must be placed in the area, it should go to the other side of Mac Hatcher. Residents in the current West Haven bought into a concept that did not include a gas station. So let new residents buy in the area where the gas station will be placed, and they will be aware on the front end what will be there. It is unfair to put a gas station this close to the existing residents. Southern Land is not accountable to the residents. They have intentionally kept the HOA from becoming a board run by the residents, and Southern Land representatives just dismiss the residents' concerns. Property value decrease is well known and documented concerning gas stations. Homeowners were charged a premium when purchasing their existing homes. It is unfair now to decrease the value by adding a gas station. Gas stations do not belong within sight of a $750,000 home. The future is electric cars, and we will be left with an empty gas station. A gas station is not needed. BP and Shell are both 4 minutes away, and there are 16 gas stations within 6.6 miles. Kroger is within the community, so the need for a convenience store is completely negated. We have been told that the gas station will specifically be a twice daily gas station. Interesting, because the family who sold Southern Land Company this piece of property for development also owns TriStar Energy LLC, which is better known as Twice Daily Gas Station. Seems fishy to me. A gas station near an MTEMC substation and an elementary school is a very bad idea. Franklin should not set a precedent allowing this to occur. Gas stations are not typically located within neighborhoods, and particularly not in Franklin. COVID-19 has created more business closures. Another gas station would increase competition and make the survival of some other businesses insurmountable. The nearest police station is on Columbia Avenue, and convenience stores are often targets for crime. How will you deal with crime with an already proposed 10% reduction in the budget? Human trafficking is associated with gas stations. The gas station will be a mecca to teens and lead to smoking and vaping. Southern Land acknowledged that the original plan never specifically said a gas station, and it is an ill motive for Southern Land to include one now. A nice facade will not change all the negatives associated with a gas station. Streets are currently overcrowded, and the increased density will only amplify the problem. We should not allow more building because there are already too many people. Streets and schools are crowded. Amenities are crowded. There is nowhere for all the cars to park, and it creates an unsafe situation. Emergency vehicles can barely navigate the crowded streets. The proposal for separate amenities is unrealistic. It has taken years to finally break ground on the second pool. There is no way to control who goes to what pool without creating resentment among neighbors. The new home should not be allowed to start construction until the proposed amenities are constructed to ensure the crowding problem is not worsened by the increase in density. There are only six swings in the entire neighborhood for all the children to use. Southern Land Company has failed to provide promised green space numerous times. Areas that were to be walking trails, benches, and landscaping are grass with a few trees if they exist at all. A condition of approval should be that the green space promised to current residents is completed prior to adding more residents. No additional residents should be allowed to be built until all amenities are provided. The recent addition of a small workout facility on Front Street has nowhere for people to park, and now people live so far away from town center it isn't walkable. If you park at Kroger, there is only one marked pedestrian crossing. Children ride their bikes in the street, and the increase in density will make this unsafe. West Haven is becoming so crowded that they will have to cancel fireworks, Memorial Day parties, and concerts. Southern Land Company has a record of compromising the beauty and functionality at the end of their project, and that is what they are doing now. Southern Land Company has other high-density projects that adversely affect quality of life. The size of this development seems to be a constantly moving target. Early residents were told 1,200, then it changed to 2,000, and now 3,400 residents. West Haven is taking over Franklin. BOMA must manage growth more responsibly, or you will kill what is left of Franklin. More density will degrade the quality and tranquility of country life. The proposed smaller homes break the promise made to residents by Southern Land Company. Current residents were told new lots would be for homes at least of the same value or higher than the homes they were buying. These small lots will not meet future needs. We will all work from home now, and this will create the need for more space. Small tract homes will decrease the value of current homes. The flipping of 80% large lots, 20% small lots, to 80% small and 20% large is unethical. These small lot homes are being turned into rentals. Traffic in the area is unbearable and an absolute nightmare. This will add an additional 16,300 plus daily trips. It's too much. Carlisle Lane will be more heavily used, and it is not built to handle that traffic. This will lead to the widening of Carlisle, which will lead to the widening of Del Rio. These will be additional costs for an already strained budget. The heavy internal congestion is creating conflict among neighbors, and we do not need to add to it. Traffic lights are needed before more development is allowed. High volume traffic on Boyd Mill, where there is a sharp 20-mile-per-hour curve, is not right. There are numerous accidents and many crashes through a fence and hit a tree. The noise from traffic and speeding and needing to hit the brakes on Boyd Mill is disruptive. Boyd Mill was not meant to handle this amount of traffic. Boyd Mill is a scenic road. Do not allow 12 houses at the golf course to be built. It is a small concession in a huge plan to remove 12 homes and preserve this heritage road. More must be done to handle the traffic. Specific requirements should be set that discourage speeding. Parking restrictions, more stop signs, and speed humps are needed. Increased pollution from traffic will be a problem. Another outlet must be created for the proposed density. It is too much now, and it's too much even with what is proposed. Something should be added near the golf course. There are not enough outlets in the neighborhood as it exists. Morning traffic near the school is unbearable. Traffic backs up Front Street and blocks the fire station. The additional traffic will not allow children to ride their bikes to school. Front Street has become an eyesore. The town center promised to West Haven residents needs to be better developed. Do not allow the reduction of commercial space. The retail space is very valuable to the community and a part of the all-inclusive plan we believed in when purchasing our homes. West Haven was sold as a walkable community. With McHatcher running in between it, it would not be walkable. The vision of West Haven was a walkable community with green space and commercial development, which allowed for residents to be connected to each other. They claim to be leaders in this new residential development movement. The reality of West Haven vastly differs from this vision, mostly due to increased density, lack of green space, and the inadequate amenities for residents. The results of these changes are constantly complaining and unpleasant people as they have not been given what they were promised. Just one visit to the West Haven Facebook page will show you how deeply seated and freely voiced these feelings are. Southern Land will say they are providing people what they want and have changed to adapt to market demands. But a lack of transparency by Southern Land with its budget is disturbing. The homeowners have no control over the homeowners association. Southern Land has all the seats but one on the HOA, and the one resident seat is a non-voting seat. Aging in place is just a marketing ploy. There is a senior facility across the street. This will just be low rent housing. Builders are allowed to add more kids to schools and more cars on the roads and don't have to put money into the infrastructure. Construction has taken place for years and it is time to stop. The daily noise, dust, debris, and traffic are a hindrance to enjoying life in West Haven. Constant construction is disruptive to working from home. Dynamite blasting is creating issues. Radon levels have increased in the neighborhood. All construction should be stopped. It is believed that the commission must find some necessity arising from unforeseen circumstances in order to change, or the change must serve the public interest, and this does not. Construction traffic on Boyd Mill should not be allowed. People are asked to move legally parked cars because construction traffic can't get through. Stop development. Allow all citizens to vote on every proposed development. Planners were not put in place to just approve anything West Haven wants. So far, everything has been approved. Planners should be concerned with our tax base and the quality of life. Southern Land Company has thoughtfully developed West Haven to this point. They have always delivered on their promises, and West Haven is the high-quality development envisioned. As many of the original residents age, the prospect of aging in place is appealing. To be able to stay in the same neighborhood will be a wonderful asset to the lives of those who choose to do so. Many residents look forward to the options of senior housing and smaller homes. The inclusion of senior housing and smaller homes will continue the original vision of a self-sustaining community. Southern Land should be encouraged to develop the Jewel property and other property. They produce a quality product and another developer may not. West Haven has been developed with high development standards and it is a cohesive development. It has been planned with high quality architecture. This type of development should be encouraged to continue. With the extension of Mac Hatcher Parkway, the increase in density, and the gas station seem appropriate responses to the changes. We will never stop development, so we should let a company known for quality continue developing. The addition of the gas station will be great. Residents will benefit from the convenience of the gas station and store. Residents believe in Southern Land's ability to deliver a quality product and believe in their vision. The availability of gas for low mileage vehicles used extensively through the neighborhood will be a great asset. A few loud and vocal residents should not be the only voices heard. Another entrance will greatly help with the traffic, particularly in the morning. Developers should have the right to build at what the market demands. Green space and landscaping next to Franklin Green will enable those kids to safely walk and bike to school, reducing traffic. It will also add more customers to West Haven's retail that can walk and bike and reduce traffic in the town center. West Haven has a strong sense of place, and this proposal does not take away from that. Developments such as West Haven are key to our quality of life in Franklin. The impact fees they pay towards parks, streets, and schools help us maintain a high standard of living. The referenced EPA study saying schools should be over 1,000 feet from a gas station has a caveat. It states potential land uses near candidate school locations that warrant further consideration rather than to identify land use that may be incompatible with the location of schools. Screening distances alone may not be predictive of the actual potential for a source located within that distance to present an environmental or health hazard. That is all of our email correspondence.
All right, thank you, Diana. I think we also have some folks on the phone that want to comment.
Yes, we will now go to callers on the phone for the West Haven rezoning, item number 5. Please be aware that per the Planning Commission bylaws, everyone has 2 minutes to speak. And please try to be as orderly as possible, as we do not know how many callers are on the line. We will go to the first caller. Would anyone like? You can go ahead and
voice your comment. We do not know how many people.
Try to speak one at a time.
Dale, you want to begin? nobody else is going to go, I'm willing to speak.
Go ahead, Ben.
There you go. I'm a resident on Keith Street on the property, very concerned. Southern Land's a wonderful corporation that seems to have been good to Franklin, but Franklin's been very good to the Southern Land itself. Keep in mind that my concern as a property owner in West Haven is very simple. My family lives here. I want to reside in a safe place. I want to reside in a healthy place with all the amenities that have been promised. Since coming here last year, within the last year, there were lots of promises provided to me as the type of development I was moving into. Of course, I'm not getting it. I've got overcrowded streets. I have lots of loud noises, lots of trucks coming down my roadway, and I just don't feel the safety. I feel like I paid for it in a lovely subdivision that I paid a very significant price for. I bought a Cadillac, but I'm only getting a smaller car. Keep in mind, we have overburdened recreational facilities that's provided, again, with the higher density and the higher traffic we would expect. Higher burdens in our school with the increase in density in our community. I'm greatly worried that not only will it affect adversely those existing property owners and their actual property values, but I'm also worried about those future folks that may come here and expect a lot more than they'll ever get. We need to be cautious. We need to protect those people who are here and expect them to get the benefits that I don't think that they're going to get. I'd also ask you to keep in mind, gas stations today may not be tomorrow's gas stations. We have a changing world out there that may go to electric. So is the gas station going to be replaced one day by a McDonald's? Will it be replaced by something else that is incompatible with the type of subdivision we have? I've talked to members out there from Southern Land, and they seem to be willing that green space could be replacing that particular gas station idea. That should be something that should be forced upon them. We prefer green space, and the local residents prefer that over the type of property where they're talking about the gas station. Thank you.
Okay, next caller.
My name is Dale Mowry, and I'm a resident of West Haven. Is someone else speaking? Okay, next caller.
No, you go ahead.
Is the slot available to speak now?
Is this Dale Mowry?
Yes, it is.
Yes, please continue with your comments.
Okay, thank you. There is a significant body of current residents who have compelling concerns over the environmental, safety, congestion, noise, odor, even impact of property values of a gas station in the community, close to an elementary school, an electric power distribution station, and within the residential district. These compelling concerns appear not to be counterbalanced with compelling advantages for the public good. Convenience is the most mentioned advantage, but there's a full-service grocery store 2 blocks away and a gas station 1.1 miles away. On the subject of increasing the scale of the community from about 2,700 homes to 3,500 homes, I believe there's much analysis to be done on existing and planned streets, speed limits, stop signs, as well as measures to discourage excessive speed and parking restrictions to ensure access by emergency vehicles, both current challenges in the community. To believe that many residents are in favor of a situation with increased traffic, overload on amenities, and degradation in residential atmosphere, not to mention property values of their neighbors, would be a bit difficult to believe at face value. So I ask that you please vote to further the public interest of a safe, clean, healthy community and not approve the revised design concept as submitted.
Thank you. We'll take the next caller.
Hi, this is Brent Hahn, and I'd like to speak on the gas station. So my wife and I have been a resident in West Haven for about 2 years, and I think the decision with regard to the gas station is simple when looked at from the perspective of a resident of West Haven. So just looking at it from a simple pro and con standpoint, choose to buy gas there, you won't have to drive as far to fill up. That's pretty much it. There are no other meaningful benefits. And what are the potential downsides of the proposed gas station? You've heard many of them already. It can compromise the look and feel of West Haven. There are environmental concerns. There are traffic concerns. There are concerns about its effect on home values. So you can debate maybe each one of those concerns individually, but as a whole, they represent legitimate hesitation on behalf of many residents. And when compared to such a meager payoff, the risks are not justified by such a modest reward. So if the closest gas station were, say, 25 miles from here, the topic would warrant a much longer discussion, but that's obviously not the case. The abundance of nearby fueling stations ought to immediately dismiss the idea of putting a gas station in West Haven, just in light of everything I just said. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We'll take the next caller.
This is Michelle Stevens. My husband David and I chose West Haven for its charms and built here in 2015. We lived in Williamson County now for 20 years. Before I begin, I'd like you all to remember these numbers with me. 1,300. Let me explain. With growth comes development. We appreciate Franklin's vision and efforts towards keeping the integrity of our town. But we feel there's a growth mission in our code. While Envision Franklin advises a 300-foot setback from Highway 96, there is absolutely no setback requirement for a gas station. Studies show the amount of benzene emitted into the air is 10 times greater than first thought. The National Institutes of Health published a study proving that children living within 1,000 feet of a gas station have a greater likelihood of contracting leukemia and cancers. Perhaps that's why the EPA suggests a gas station be no closer than 1,000 feet from a school. If that's appropriate for where kids play, then why should people live any closer to one? It's a good thing I'm not pregnant. Yes, would be funny at my age, but as my baby might develop cancer. Our $750,000 home on Townsend is less than 1,000 feet from the proposed gas station. Which leads me to ask this. Why does Franklin not have a gas station setback? Many cities across the country are revising theirs now to protect their citizens because of this new information. Remember, smoking used to be recommended by doctors, but now we know it causes lung cancer. There is no other gas station in the Franklin neighborhood. Google Earth Maps verifies Berry Farms Bryce Bailey is nearly 2,400 feet from any residential. In West Haven, there will be condos, townhomes, even a pool within perhaps 200 feet. So I ask you, would you like a gas station to be built within 500 feet of your home? I suspect not. Just because a gas station is illegal, it doesn't mean it's a good idea. This is a very large risk, and in no way justifies the legal reward to me. We must introduce a gas station setback.
Emily, could we recommend they put on
If any callers are on the phone, please, and not speaking, please mute your phone. There's a lot of background noise and we're unable to hear the speakers.
Also the 2 minutes.
Okay, Ms. Stevens, did that wrap up your comments?
Yes,
Thank you. We'll go to the next caller. Again, please mute your phone if you're not speaking.
I'm Marissa Fernandez.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me? There's feedback.
Yeah, there's someone on the line that seems to have their phone not muted. Okay, please continue with your comment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I did want to speak very simply, and I live in West Haven. I've lived in West Haven for 3 years. I lived in Franklin for 7 years, and I moved to Nashville in 2006. I love Nashville. I love Franklin. I moved to West Haven because it's just such a beautiful community. My two questions are specifically with regards to the gas station. Is the city of Franklin and Southern Land willing to expose the community, especially vulnerable seniors and children, to the increased risk of crime that comes with gas stations. I'm not just speaking of armed robberies, I'm speaking of victimless crimes such as skimmers, loitering, quality of life issues. My second question would be, if crime were to increase, how would the city protect its citizens with a projected 10.5% reduction in its FY21 budget or beyond? The nearest police station is on Columbia Avenue. With increased traffic, it would probably take a police officer 20 or more minutes to get here. Those are my questions and my concerns, and thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you for your comments. We'll move to the next caller, please. Are there any other callers on the line for the West Haven rezoning item number 5?
All right, thank you.
Are you calling for West Haven item number 5?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hold on just a
Second, let me unmute. We have one more caller on the line. Please state your name.
All right, this is Ann Pierce. Let me go ahead and mute. I'm watching on 2 devices, and there's a significant delay on one of them, so let me mute that. Okay, I just wanted to mention foremost, this message of West Haven citizens being able to respond is really insufficient. We had a woman who was informed, intelligent, and trying to speak, and she was completely talked over by a non-muted phone. That's an issue. We need to be able to see our planning commission, to see their responses. We also need to have an appropriate method of responding where people actually hear all of the response. So let me go into further things. I agree with the first caller. Franklin benefits significantly from people in West Haven. The people that the West Haven mixed community attracts are people that give back to Franklin, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. Southern Land has benefited from being here. So, that's enough. Also, I want to talk about the fact that the second email referenced that kids will walk to school. You know how many range hours we have in Franklin, Tennessee? There will be significant traffic. That's not an issue. I want to mention that we will have a significant issue with the increased density that we will have from the increase in smaller homes and the lessening of larger lots. That will increase traffic. That will increase, everything that has been spoken about through the EPA issues. It will increase in environmental impact. It will lessen our quality of life. This matters. I'm a young person. I've spoken to several other people saying, hey, West Haven is a great place to live, even attracting great, corporate leaders and things. I'll no longer be saying that if this is proposed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there another caller on the line for item number 5, West Haven rezoning?
Yes, I'd like to make one last comment if I could, please. This is Richard Hughes. My comment is that I challenge this planning commission to look thoroughly at what the setbacks should be and what the planning commission should look at, not just for West Haven, but for any future neighborhood in terms of setting up things of the nature of gas stations that could create safety issues going forward. As we build McHatcheraw, there are going to be a lot of other neighborhoods that come out. So what are going to be the standards going forward? So this could be a precedent-setting decision that you're about to make here. And we hate to see that you make a decision that sets a precedent that we can build gas stations in any neighborhood anywhere in this community. And that creates lots of different safety issues. So that's my challenge to you all. From an engineering perspective, I would say take a hard look at this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller. Any more callers for West Haven rezoning item number 5? Okay, well, we will wrap up the public comment portion of this meeting and I'll turn it over to the chair.
All right, thank you, Emily. We will, that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. I will now turn it over to the applicant for them to present this item.
Can everybody hear me? We're working on. Can everybody hear me without an echo now?
Yes.
All right. Can I get a thumbs up from Mr. Hathaway so that I know that he can hear me? Okay, thank you very much. I do have one, let me introduce myself first. My name is Ben Crenshaw. I'm the Senior Vice President of Design for Southern Land Company. I'm a 17-year employee of Southern Land and a 15-year resident of West Haven. I do have a point of clarification for the chair. We have two items on the agenda tonight. One is rezoning, and specifically it was the rezoning of a piece of property that had not been in the West Haven PD prior to your consideration tonight. And then we have the update of the development plan, which is the next agenda item. Are we, my question is, will this be basically conflated into one item? The way Diana presented that, it was one item. So will we have 10 minutes to present this item and then 10 minutes to present in the development plan? And also, will there be public input on the development plan as well?
Yes to both questions.
Okay. All right, well, let me get started then. To reintroduce myself, my name is Ben Crenshaw. Here in the room with me, appropriately distanced, we have Tim Downey, who is the CEO of Southern Land Company, Brian Sewell, who is the founder and CEO of Southern Land. Brian Sewell is the president of Southern Land Company, an 18-year veteran of Southern Land, who actually moved here from Florida to head up West Haven. We have Shane White, who is a 15-year veteran of Southern Land Company, who heads up our planning and urban design. We have Tom Scooby, who's our development manager, David Brock, who is our national head of home building and acquisitions. And also on the line, we have Beth Ostrowski, who is with KCI, who developed the traffic plan, our traffic study, and David Winter, who's our environmental consultant, who can speak to any environmental or aquatic resources questions that we might have. So first of all, I want to thank the staff. And I know you guys probably hear that from a lot of applicants, but we have some very complicated issues that we work through with staff. And that's from planning, engineering, public works, all through staff, parks. And I know you probably hear that from a lot of people, but we work with planning staffs across the country. And I think that the staff that you have has been very professional, very helpful. We haven't always agreed, but we've always been very professional with each other. So after that long citizen input session, and we welcome that. We have been welcoming that since the middle of November. We've had our one open public meeting that was well attended, probably 350 people. We've had 7 community meetings that we've limited to a smaller group of 50. We've had numerous face-to-face and small group meetings. And then we've also kept our residents informed with eBlast pretty much every month through this process. So we actually welcome that commentary. It's been consistent. We've worked through some issues. We've made some modifications to the plan. And so that is something that we welcome through the process. So 20 years ago or more, Tim had a vision of a community that really set the stage for an active, connected life. And that's been a lot of the people on the phone, a lot of people that are on this meeting were there with him from the very early start. And a community that was green, a community that had civic and commercial uses integrated, a beautiful and friendly community, and a community that we felt like multiple generations could age together as they moved through West Haven. And so tonight, this is sort of the next evolution of what the plan will be. So tonight we're asking for 2 things. One is the rezoning of a property that is adjacent to the West Haven land, and 2, a change in the entitlements to really kind of right size according to the market that we've seen and going forward. So if I can, I would like to share my screen. Emily? Can anybody see my screen?
Try now.
All right, how about that? Sorry. Thank you for your patience with the technology. So the property that we are to orient you to the plan, a lot of these plans that you'll see tonight are oriented with north on the left. This will be Highway 96, Mac Hatcher Extension coming from the north and stopping here at Townsend. This is the rest of West Haven Golf Course is here. The town center is here. So just so this gets your orientation. The purple is land that has been within the West Haven boundary since the beginning. But in 2017, we removed all entitlements associated with that parcel. The parcel in yellow is the parcel, the subject parcel tonight, that is adjacent to this property that we are asking for to be incorporated into the West Haven PD. So some views, this is the corner of 96 and Carlisle looking to the west, just to orient you to the property. This is 96 looking to the east. This is on Boyd Mill Avenue looking to the northwest. Boyd Mill Avenue looking towards the southwest. The property is 7.27 acres, currently has a house on it. This is some site analysis showing aquatic resources, tree cover. It's currently zoned R1 as mentioned in the staff report. The 500, this is a requirement of the rezoning. As you know, this is the 500-foot radius around and showing the affected properties. This is not affected by the hilltop overlay nor the buffer on either of the two adjacent hills. There's a historic property here that really sits on top of the hill that the zone of influence is shown here, but the property does not affect. This is within Envision Franklin. This is listed, so this is within the circle. This is currently listed as mixed residential. So I'll go back to the plan. To orient you again, this is north is up, West Haven. This is the property in purple that I was showing. The yellow property is here on the corner. So right at the corner of Carlisle and Highway 96. It's currently in the Envision Franklin plan. It is mixed residential. Here's a picture of West Haven as an example of mixed residential. And we are not asking for a change in the Envision Franklin plan. The adjacent area in the purple that I showed you is neighborhood mixed use. And again, a picture of Franklin, or sorry, a picture of West Haven. You'll actually see that picture again. That we are directly adjacent to, and we really see this as a continuation of West Haven, and a way. As you crest the hill at Carlisle and Boyd Mill, it really is a gateway to the western side of Franklin. And with the historic house on your right, and then our proposal for the development on the left, really felt like that we have a real chance to control Highway 96, the visual of Highway 96, and really create that kind of gateway and an introduction to West Haven. So again, the more technical drawings, this would be the rezoning because we are adding the property into the PD. That is the reason that is a rezoning of the entire property. So this is the small piece here that is added in. The entitlements that, and you'll see this image again multiple times. To get your bearings, this is the overall of West Haven. The red area is area that is currently built, or the gray areas are under construction. The blue areas are the areas within the current West Haven design plans that will be updated, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the purple and the yellow currently carry no entitlements. And so we are specifically talking about the yellow property. I think in order for you to be able to make an informed decision on this rezoning without really getting in depth into the overall development plan update that we're requesting. I wanted to show you a little context, and this is a preview of what you'll see on the next agenda item. So again, to reorient you, this is Highway 96 West. This is Boyd Mill Avenue. The proposal is, and one of the things, what I mentioned was that West Haven, we really aspired to have a project, to have a community where people can age in place. And as they move throughout their life, their needs change. And we see a gap there where as people move, as they're wanting to move out of a single family house, that before they're ready to go into an assisted living or care facility, that they would rather have a smaller house with no maintenance, low maintenance, or an independent living facility that really caters to their needs and their lifestyle. So the whole idea of this property between the purple and the yellow is an age-restricted area with a very lineup of cottages, duplexes, townhomes, condominiums, and a 130 to 150 assisted living facility. I'm sorry, independent living facility. It will have its own amenities. The independent living facility will have its own amenities within the building, and we'll have a community amenity just for the use of the residents on this side. So when you break down the density for West Haven is about 2.31, I believe it is, for the entire property. To apply that density to the as a framework for the entitlements for the yellow property, it comes out to 16 residential units. And the plan bears out a little bit less than that, but that is what is listed in your packet for review. So this is about 400 total residential units. It's no commercial. From an urban design perspective, this is Franklin Green back here. And from an urban design perspective, we're respecting the setback from Highway 96. There's a tree row and some really nice trees here, but really creating more larger buildings with a larger setback and more coarse texture to be viewed from Highway 96. And then as you proceed into the community and we get closer to our adjacent neighbors, that's much more compatible from a product standpoint, that we'll have the cottages ringing the outside edges. We'll have the duplexes more in the middle. And then as you get more around this sort of central organizing green, these are the townhomes here and then duplexes on this side. So it's really, we're trying to be very conscious of our surroundings and respectful of our neighbors. We're providing a buffer around from the circulation pretty much all the way around anywhere we have adjacent neighbors. From a circulation standpoint, we're asking for a connection to Boyd Mill that will provide left-hand and right-hand turns, a connection to Highway 96 that is basically aligned with the Morning Point entrance that will be right in, right out only, and then an extension of Townsend Boulevard that runs through West Haven Community now, and Mac Hatcher will stop here for the time being. So this will be a all-way stop for the meantime. This is a T intersection, will be an all-way stop, but it's a direct connection through to Townsend Boulevard. So some views of how this will look. This is basically from a helicopter above the intersection of Highway 96 and Mac Hatcher. This is Mac Hatcher. This is looking from the northwest to the southeast. This would be the independent living facility. These are the condo buildings here. And as we step back, that's where we have the cottages. The townhomes are more in the middle and the cottages are on the outside. Looking at it from the opposite direction, this is that intersection here of Highway 96 and Mac Hatcher. This is looking back from the southwest to the northeast. These are the cottages around with the organizing green space in the middle, and then that progression up to the higher buildings and the higher density along Highway 96. This is a view looking west, basically from the neighbor's property right through the middle, seeing the green here and the direct connection from Townsend Boulevard, which the school, to orient you, the elementary school is on Townsend Boulevard. This will be the exit from West Haven, and we'll get into this area in a few minutes. But this is that direct connection across Mac Hatcher. So Mac Hatcher sits back here. So from an entitlement perspective, from what runs with the land, if we rezone this 7.27 acres, on the east side of Mac Hatcher, we are proposing, and then this refers back to the plan with the purple and the yellow. The purple, we will ask for no commercial entitlements, really on the whole east side. No commercial entitlements are anticipated. And the residential entitlements, again, will be 400 in the purple area and 16 in the yellow area, for a total of 416. And I want to make this clear. I'm going to make this point several times tonight. The current entitlements for West Haven are 2,750 residential units and 500,000 square feet of commercial space. Those entitlements do not encumber this property at all. So as I mentioned in the past, in 2017, we removed all entitlements from the purple area. And then today we're talking about a new parcel of 7.27 acres. So the 2,750 residential units that we are currently entitled for will reside only on the west side of Mac Hatcher. And the same thing goes for the 500,000 square feet of commercial space. That is only on the west side of Mac Hatcher and not encumbering the property on the east side of Mac Hatcher. So I just want to make that clear, that this, when we're talking about 416 residential units, with a total of 766 residential units is the ask of the increase, the majority of those units reside in an area on the east side of Mac Hatcher that we don't have entitlements for now. And so I'll show you the chart in the future in just a few minutes that really makes that clear, that on the west side, we'll be asking for 350 residential units and a decrease of 250,000 square feet of resident or commercial. And on the west or the east side of Mac Hatcher, this is new property with no entitlements, and we're asking to add 416. So the majority of those, the increase in residential entitlements happens in an area that is directly adjacent to Mac Hatcher, directly adjacent to Highway 96, that are both arterial roads that are capable of handling the traffic. And we can get into the traffic study if we want to, but we feel like that it's placed well, situated so that easy access to the arterial roads. We're in discussions with the city staff on the improvements that will be required for Boyd Mill. We understand that by adding traffic to Boyd Mill Avenue, there will be an increase in traffic, both from West Haven, this property, and the background traffic as Franklin grows on the western side. And we're fully willing to do our part in making the improvements to make that road safer. I have two teenage boys that drive to school on that road every day when they can actually go to school. And so we have a real interest in making that road as safe as possible. So that is it from, we have our whole team ready to answer questions. That is it for our the first item. We will get into much more detail regarding the update to the concept plan in the next item.
All right, thank you very much. I'll now entertain, I'm sorry, we have, this is going to be a little unusual because of the situation we're in, but we have one more public comment that is here in the audience. So I am going to, if you'll come forward, sir. Yeah. So if you'll answer and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less and tell us your name.
60 Boyd Mill Avenue, not Boyd Mill Pike. I live on 5.2 acres adjacent to the 7.5 acres that has been purchased by Southern Land on the corner of New Highway 96 and Boyd Mill Avenue. It is my understanding that there is a proposal to put a assisted living unit on that property. I would like to encourage the people at Southern Land Company to make their plans based on actual personal survey up close of the property and how it relates to Boyd Mill Avenue. I hope they don't do it just by maps and overlays. I think Boyd Mill Avenue, the first 1/4 of a mile of that, is probably the most dangerous section of road in Franklin, Tennessee. My driveway is the very first driveway on the right from New 96, and I take my life in my hands every time I pull out of my driveway onto Boyd Mill Avenue. It's located on a curve that goes from right to left and uphill. Anybody that does not believe that it's dangerous needs to drive that section of road and see the wooden fence that's on the right on the property that has been purchased and planned for development. There's an automobile-shaped hole in the wooden fence right now. It's the 8th time in, I think, 4 years that there has been a car off that curve through the fence. So I want the people who are planning on access and egress to that property to consider an alternate route than Boyd Mill Avenue. I think that they're either on to, I don't know what effect Mac Hatcher will have on this. I don't know what effect any development in the cornfield to the south of our property will be, but anything on to Boyd Mill Avenue is a very, very dangerous situation.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I would like for also, if Mr. Tim Downey happens to see this meeting with Southern Land, he'll refer to his letter to Pat Williams on April 2nd, 2001.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. All right.
This is crazy.
Commissioners, we remember we're looking at a rezoning here for this property. So I will entertain a motion from the commission now.
I'll move for approval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
No, that was Scott Harrison. So the proper motion, is there a second? Anybody want to do a second? All right, I think the motion fails for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to defer.
Motion to defer. Okay, is there a second?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, defer for how long?
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Franks, what is your request for deferral to?
Just 30 days, please. I just know that there's a lot of emails that we've all received and a lot of consideration that needs to be thought out a little bit more. I don't recall this being in front of the workshop. Was it presented from the workshop, Mike?
That's a good question. I think it was. Yes, it was. So, Jimmy, your motion is to defer to the next meeting, June 25th. All right. Is there a second to that deferral motion?
I'll second it, Scott.
Okay. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion on that motion?
Point of order, I guess, Chairman. Would this, because the next item goes with this, I do believe, with this also, is that correct?
The next item is the development plan revision, so yes. Okay, any other discussion? All right, I don't see any, so we're going to go to the roll call vote. Mrs. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Franks?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay,
Aye.
Ms. McLemore,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson, or Mrs. Peterson,
Aye.
Ms. Salaji.
Aye.
Okay, chairman votes no. Motion passes. Now I need our attorney. Where is our attorney? Are you still here? Shonda, what does that do for us for this next item since it's a development plan? Is that automatically deferred, that item?
Well, it is set for a public hearing. So if there's anyone on the phone that wants to speak, you need to take that up. And if there's anyone that's in the room, I can't see that. They also should be able to speak. But other than that, it'll have to be an automatic deferral after the public hearing.
Okay, all right. Then do we want a staff presentation then for this? Right, we'll do that after we get public comments. All right, so staff, do you want to present this? I'm looking to Emily. Do you want to still have a presentation? Okay.
We probably do need to.
Diana, go ahead and why don't you go ahead and present? I assume you're going to be presenting this.
Okay, yes. So this is a consideration of resolution 2019-130. It's a resolution approving a revised development plan for the West Haven PUD subdivision. This development plan is a revision. Revision is consistent with Envision Franklin and maintains the vision of the original concept for the West Haven development. The area is in the Envision Franklin design concepts of mixed residential and neighborhood mixed use. The mixed residential design concept contains residential neighborhoods with a combination of single-family homes, big houses, duplexes, and townhomes. The defined character across this design concept may vary by neighborhood, but new development should transition from existing development patterns in adjacent neighborhoods. The neighborhood mixed-use design concept provides a diverse mix of high-activity uses with a connected and walkable block layout. These centers and corridors should have coordinated development patterns at the pedestrian scale with high-quality architecture, plazas, sidewalks, and pedestrian and bicycle amenities to activate the street and connect these gathering places to the residential neighborhoods they support. The proposed development is consistent with the goals and guidelines of Envision Franklin. This proposal changes commercial entitlements from 500,000 to 250,000 square feet. 178,000 commercial square feet currently exist, leaving approximately 72,000 for future commercial development. Residential dwellings go from 2,750 residential units to 3,516 residential units. An additional 7 acres are being added to the project area from the previous approved development plan. The West Haven Development Plan Revision 4 was approved administratively in March 2020. Considerations are West Haven is proposing flexibility in their unit types of 20%. Therefore, the actual number of unit types could vary by 20% without returning to Franklin Municipal Planning Commission or BOMA for approval. But the overall total count of residential units will not increase. For example, the current plan shows 150 townhomes. A 20% variation would be an additional 30 townhomes. So the actual total number of townhomes could be 180. The current plan shows a total of 895 single-family homes. This could decrease as much as 179 units for a total of 716 dwelling units. The pattern book governing West Haven has been updated and it is included as an attachment to this report. It updates the pattern book to specifically identify neighborhood market with gas pumps as an approved use and to provide the architectural requirements for that type use that are similar to other structures throughout West Haven. The pattern book does identify that the use of gas pumps would be secondary and required to be at the side or rear of the building. The plan shown in the submitted documents does not show all the entitlements asked for by the applicant. Their entitlement request is a maximum, but full build out is not portrayed on these plans. Staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2019-130 with conditions to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and we have attached our conditions of approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So as a matter of course, because this item has been brought forward and it's been publicized, we're going to open it up for any public comment, either on Zoom or if there's anybody on the phone that wants to comment. We've read a lot of emails and we've heard a lot of comments, so it would be appreciated that you not repeat comments made earlier, but we will open it up now for any comments.
Just first off, all of the emails that we received will be recorded in the minutes for both the last item and this item regarding West Haven. So since Diana went through all those in the last item, we will not go through that summary again, but just know that all those apply to this item as well. Now we'll go to callers on the phone for West Haven Development Plan, item 6. First caller, please. Is there anyone on the line for West Haven that would like to comment?
I would like the opportunity to comment. I'm concerned about this. I am concerned. Yeah, I am a resident. I'm concerned about the nature of the project as intended. I would repeat everything else that was suggested about not liking the project as planned. I have significant concerns with the safety to the public, but also just wanted to present just a very obvious concern that why is the developer on my screen? Well, frankly, I don't see the objectors on a screen of any type. Is there preferential treatment being provided them?
Could you please state your name for the record as well before we move to the next caller? Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other callers on the line that would like to comment on West Haven Development Plan?
Hi, yes, this is Erin again. I'd like to comment.
Okay, please continue.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate what the previous caller just said, and that we've already commented on in the earlier section that might not have been the right section, but that same sentiment should be echoed here. I would like to at least acknowledge that the vision that everyone was sold on is not the vision that is currently being proposed. With the increase of such an increase to homes, the increased traffic, the fact that I got a nail in my tire the other day just from construction. This is happening to people. I don't know a single person who is in favor of the increase to homes. Also, is there any study done on when you have a 20% variance in the increase to townhomes, the increase in turnover, the rentals, and that those are transition homes, since people are only usually staying there a small amount of time. I have multiple friends who've done that here. That's worth noting. There's going to be high turnover with smaller homes and townhomes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the next caller, please. Any more callers for West Haven, item number 6? Okay, we'll close that portion.
Thank you, Emily. I guess for the applicant, you understand that this will be a deferral vote, so it's up to you whether or not you want to give any kind of presentation.
I do. We definitely understand that we defer the vote, but I do think that some more information will be a positive for everybody, both in the public and for the commissioners. So if you'd be patient with me, I'd like to walk through the rest of the presentation.
Sure.
And maybe add a little more light to some of the issues.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Emily, I think you're going to have to let me share my screen. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just give me.
So this really follows through with the presentation that we made prior. we had a vision for the community, and we've spent the last 20 years executing that vision. Active streetscapes, great commercial. You've seen that. This is mentioned. This is the image that I mentioned was in the Envision Franklin plan. We've concentrated on great streetscapes, varied houses. Streetscape, your walk along the street is a very much interesting and varied experience. And then again, setting the stage. We host many small and large events throughout the year. All of our open spaces are programmed for one form or the other of some sort of gathering. And so again, it's sort of getting back to that idea of allowing great functions to happen. And as far as open space, West Haven was conceived as a project with 50% open space. This new proposal remains consistent with that. We are like 49.9% open space. Currently, we have about 1,500 acres in development total, with up to right at 339 acres of open space. We've planted 4,000 street trees. We built 36 miles of sidewalk. That's enough to almost get you from downtown Franklin to downtown Nashville and back. We have 3 miles of multi-use path. Those are indicative of walkable, beautiful communities. We also have 8 miles of nature trail that Southern Land Company didn't build. An intrepid group of residents went up on the hillside and built some incredible walking paths. So that's almost 13 miles of path 11 miles of path within our community. Those are indicative of very walkable, comfortable places to live. Our open spaces are varied. They vary in character, they vary in style, they vary in activity, they vary in detail. And that's very intentional from our perspective. So again, getting back to the overall total, this is the 5th update of the concept plan. It was originally approved in 2001, then in 2003, 2007, 2017, 2019, and now this is the next proposal. So we're asking, again, getting back to the question of what we're asking for, on this side of Mac Hatcher, on the west side of Mac Hatcher, we are asking for the decrease of commercial entitlements by 250,000 units or square feet, and the increase of roughly 350 residential units. And those are concentrated in the areas here, the areas here, and the areas here, where we are. And the reason for that is really as a basic response to the market. By increasing the density, and in this area, it's about 130 residential units, and this area is about 78 residential units. And that's just taking the same lineup that we have in the balance of West Haven and applying it to those areas. You heard mention of that from one of the callers. So from an overall perspective, and getting down to, and I want to address traffic really quickly. By comparing apples to apples, our current entitlements of 2,750 residential units, 500,000 square feet of commercial, to the entitlements that we're proposing of 250,000 square feet of commercial space and 3,516, our traffic study actually shows a reduction in total daily trips by 23%. And so from a traffic standpoint, we're making connections to the arterial roads with the extension of Townsend Boulevard, and we're overall reducing the total number of anticipated trips by 23%. It goes down from the mid 50,000 to right at 36,000. So, and that's in the traffic study that you all have. And so every intersection that was studied, and all the perimeter intersections were studied for West Haven, that is typical for a traffic study. None of those intersections failed with the new density added to the current plan. Any improvements that were required, and this was vetted by the city's third-party consultant as well, any of the improvements that were required, we're completely in agreement with. The signalization of West Haven Boulevard and Highway 96, the signalization of Stonewater Boulevard and 96, the improvements to Boyd Mill Avenue, we're in complete agreement with that. Those are the only improvements that were warranted by the increase of density and the change in the plan that we're proposing. So to quickly go through and show you the areas, we're going to concentrate on the blue areas. Those are the areas that have been redesigned. This is the south area, again, and West Haven is based on the idea of walkability and small neighborhoods that are centered around parks. This one is a little different because we have so much open space against the hillsides that we are allowing park or trail connections through this area. But again, this is the same density. If you look here of West Haven, it is the same density exactly to what we built today. Looking at the west area, we have the same area. This area is substantially complete with the plan that this board approved in 2019. And this area is the change between larger lots and smaller lots. Again, centered around a central green that we will also have connections to the open space trails. And then the connection between this central green and this central green creates a really strong focal point for this side. This is the area where we're proposing to add 8. It's not 12 anymore. We've listened to the comments. We're proposing 8 cottages along Boyd Mill, and then 33 residential units on Stonewater. And what was previously an 11-acre city park, dedicated city park, we're now proposing to be practice fields for the use of maintenance by the West Haven HOA and the use of by our residents. I personally know the deficit of practice fields within the west side of Franklin, and I know that this is a need that we are really meeting here. So on this side, we end up with a total addition of about 78 residential units. And Diana was correct. We have asked for a 20% variance because we don't know. We think we have another 10 more years of West Haven before we're finished. We don't know exactly what the mix or the proper lot width is going to be here. We can only guess. And I think that it was a good agreement between us and staff to allow basically a 20% change without having to come back and approve every site plan going forward or every section going forward. This is a blow up of so we have West Haven has an amenity area under construction here, and then these will be the practice fields. This is under construction. We have 6 tennis courts, proposed 3 pickleball courts, and then this is the additional lap pool and community space that we're under construction of now. This is Highway 96 Boyd Mill. Stonewater is on the left-hand side. And these will be the practice fields that we're proposing instead of the city park. We've come to a good agreement with parks, and that we will be we'll be paying the parkland fees, and that will begin after the permit for the 2,751st lot, and that's in lieu of dedicating more parkland space that, quite frankly, they said they weren't prepared or didn't need such a small piece here. So this is the area behind Kroger. This is the expansion of the town center area. And again, as we get to this area and the area across that we just looked at for the rezoning, we're proposing a little higher density here. This area is proposed to have another amenity space here. These are condo buildings around the outside of 3 and 4 stories that, again, addresses this setback in a very organized way. And then this along the entrance of Townsend would be the general store with gas pumps. The gas pumps will be sitting here. And this would be another about 5,000 square foot commercial building. And let me address the gas pumps. Southern Land and the city of Franklin have been building West Haven for the last 20 years. We've built a tremendous community of over 2,000 houses at this point, almost 180,000 square feet of commercial. A very known and well-managed community. We would not propose to do anything that is so small that would be a negative to the balance of the community. We still, if this proposal is accepted, we probably still have 10 more years of development to go and 1,400 residential units. We would not do anything willingly or purposefully to hinder either the reputation or the health and wellness of our current residents and our future residents. And so this is something that we have thought through. It has been, these are some of the images from an aesthetic standpoint. These are some images from around the country that we've seen that we like. This is in Palmetto Bluff. This is Hilton Head. These are some images of what we would propose this to be. So this is coming in from Townsend. These are the this is the canopy for the pumps coming here. Mac Hatcher is at your back. We see this as a very active, integrated area, nice little commercial node, buildings pulled up to the street, on-street parking, active availability for on or outdoor dining, really well designed in the theme of the rest of West Haven to that same quality level. And then we're also proposing that there's the possibility of live work units behind here, so that as we transition off of Mac Hatcher, busy arterial road with who knows how much traffic is going to be there in the future, that there is more of a commercial welcoming into the community and not straight a bad transition from a very busy road to a very much more walkable residential neighborhood. So this is looking back, we're fully prepared to recess the lighting. We're prepared to make sure that our water quality, surface water quality, is over and above what is required by the city and TA. We've had many conversations with both the gas operator and our environmental consultants, and gas pumps are one of the most regulated industries in the state. So double line tanks, all of the galvanic protection against rusting, all of those normal and well-regulated safety measures would be in place here as well. So this is a look back towards Mac Hatcher, these sort of twin buildings that really start to create a nice entrance point here. Looking back over the project, this is, again, the proposal. I think we do Southern Land, West Haven, we do screening as well as anybody. This would become a part of that entrance feature. And then you see our proposal for the age restricted area in the background. And so I want to remind this body that in 2003, in the first concept plan update, this was the approved plan of the town center area. And this represents 500,000 square feet of commercial. This was back when Mac Hatcher had been moved to the east. This is Hamilton Creek as we know it now. Mac Hatcher kind of runs right about through here now. But in the circle, approved was a gas station. So, and zooming in a little bit, this is not only a gas station, but it's a gas station with a car wash right on Front Street, right at our front entrance. 10 years later, almost 20 years later, looking back on that plan, that's not something that anybody on this board probably, or in this room, or in the public listening, that's not a plan that I don't think anybody would be happy with today. And so in reconsidering this has been a part of the program from the very start from West Haven. And so reconsidering this, we felt like this was a much better option. And yes, for the convenience of our residents. When Mac Hatcher gets built, and this is another piece of information, this is an article in the Tennessean that actually has the gas station called out here. So it's been out there in the public realm for a very long time. So as Mac Hatcher gets built, traffic for West Haven residents will mainly go around Mac Hatcher. To go through downtown Franklin is, unless you're going towards downtown Franklin and want to go that way, I would bet the majority, and our traffic study shows the majority of people will be going around Mac Hatcher. The two gas stations that are downstream of this going in town are, yes, they're relatively close, but the trip will be going in and coming back out. The gas station at the corner of this is Highway 96 and Downs Boulevard is 153 feet away from the adjacent house at Reed Hill Commons. The gas station at 11th Avenue and Highway 96 is only 800 feet away from Johnson Elementary. And it's 184 feet away from the houses adjacent, with a blue line stream running right next to it. So that's not anything to say, but the gas stations that I use, the gas stations the majority of the West Haven residents use, are those two that are convenient. And we're proposing something that's about commensurate with the situation that those two gas stations are in. So we do not want to lose sight of the overall total picture of that the gas station is a minor piece. And again, we see it as a general store with gas pumps. We do not want to lose sight that this is a very minor piece of what we're discussing tonight. And that we understand, and and I was very sincere about when we began that we solicited a lot of public comment and we have made changes to the plan. One of the comments was that we had this amenity adjacent to this area, and we've moved that away. It's just, and so there are 4 or 5 examples of how we have made changes to the plan based on the public comment. And so we've welcomed that comment, and we understand the emotions behind the comments. But I do want this body to know, and everybody listening to know, that it's not in our best interest to develop anything within West Haven, anything anywhere across the country that does not benefit the health and wellness of our residents, both current and future. And so I hope this body understands our perspective. So in general, going back to the, excuse me, the entitlement discussion. Currently, we have 500,000 square feet of commercial, and this is only on the western side of McHatcher. We are entitled to build 500,000 square feet of commercial. We are entitled to build 2,750 residential units. What we are proposing, and tonight, what we are proposing is a reduction of our commercial entitlements by 250,000 square feet, and an increase on the west side of West Haven of 350 for a total of 3,150 on the west side and 250,000 square feet of commercial space. We don't have plans other than those 2 small buildings, which total up to about 10,000 square feet, to build any more commercial at this point. Our total now is about 185,000 square feet. So that totals up to about 195,000 square feet. So all of the traffic study numbers that show the traffic generation, we're leaving probably 50,000 square feet of commercial on the table, but we are accommodating 50,000 square feet of commercial of traffic on our roads, and our intersections do not fail. So I hope you understand that point as well. So I won't go through again this portion. You've already seen this. But again, on the east side of McHatcher, what we are proposing is 416 residential units and 0 commercial. The overall total would be a reduction of 250,000 square feet of commercial and an increase of 766 residential units. And again, the majority of those units, 416, are on the east side, where there currently are no entitlements encumbering that property. I just threw that in there for fun. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm also happy, there was mention of that we, or maybe some loss of, it's been a long time. We started this process back in, Emily and Amy and I met probably in July of last year when we first started this process. We came to the joint BOMA workshop in December, back when the world was a different place. I'd offer up as a suggestion, I know the next meeting, 30 days, the next meeting of this body is on the same day as the joint workshop. But I would love to be able to come to the workshop and discuss in more detail, if you guys would allow us to kind of refresh your memory on some of our proposals, and then be able to better address any of your questions any way possible. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time. I'm sorry if I ran over. Thank you, everybody on the commission. Thank you for your patience, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
All right, thank you very much. I will, as we discussed, we've deferred the first item, so we need to defer this item as well. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to defer to the next meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so it was moved by Michael and seconded by Mr. Harrison, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's a proper motion. Any discussion?
Mike, I do like the plan. I think it's important to have the services there, gas station, the services there that support a lot of people out in that area. My only concern is there's another 750 homes, but I'm not opposing it tonight, and I just want to hear a little bit more about it. And I think the neighbors had a good discussion regarding it, and the applicant did a great job of explaining it. Just the learning curve a little bit more. That's a huge project out there, and how much more is there to come if we approve this? How much more is there beyond the overall master plan that was approved?
Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Allen.
or to be fair to the applicant, I'd like to give him as much time to work on our concerns as possible. I am very concerned. I live in this area, and I'm very concerned with the additional residential units. I don't at all trust any traffic study that says that it's going to generate less trips. I'll be absolutely honest with that. Not only that, I was on the board of mayor and alderman from 1990 something to 2001. I can't even remember. I guess it was 93. And they've been talking about extending Mac Hatcher since then. And I'll believe it when it's extended. When I'm driving on it is when I'll believe that. So not only that, very concerned with the timing of Mac Hatcher and building of anything out this way. So wanted to let you guys know. And of course, Southern Land, great company and all that, has absolutely, in my opinion, though, nothing to do with me supporting this. So as it stands right now, I do not support this, but I wanted to let you guys know up front why these additional 700 homes can't support it. Traffic, schools, all of that. Just wanted to let you know where I'm standing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. I've been reminded that this is just a discussion about the deferral. So thank you, Ms. Allen, but I probably should have reminded you earlier of that. So any other comments just about the fact that we are deferring this?
I'd just like to say that I think a deferral will give us time to kind of better go through all the emails that we received. I know there was quite a lot. So I do appreciate that this has been deferred.
Okay, thank you. All right, since we do have a proper motion and second for deferral to the June 25th meeting, then I will do a roll call now vote. So for the deferral vote, Mrs. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Franks.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay.
Aye.
Ms. McLemore.
Aye.
Mr. Orr. Michael, you still with us? All right, Michael is an absent. Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi?
Aye.
And the chair votes no. Motion passes. Before we move on to the next item, I'd like to take about a 5-minute recess. So we will re-adjourn. What time is it now? We'll adjourn again at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So we're not logging off though, right?
I would.
No. Got it. If you logged up, we'd have to have another link.
You were on mute while you were gone, right?
Yes.
Good.
All right, do we have everybody back? Looks like Jimmy, you're still here. Michael, or you look like you're back.
Yes, sir, I'm back.
All right, good. All right, I'm going to recuse myself on the next two items. So I'm going to pass it to Roger and let you take items 7 and 8.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 7, consideration of ordinance 2020-11, an ordinance to rezone 49.93 acres from Regional Commerce 12, RC12 district to planned PD 32.5, 1,110,300 square feet and 605 keys district for the property located north of Meridian Boulevard and west of Carruthers Parkway, located at 9009 Carruthers Parkway, referred to as the East Works District PUD subdivision. Staff?
Thank you and good evening to the commission. This rezoning is to accommodate the proposed East Works District's PUD subdivision. The development plan has been submitted concurrently with the rezoning request. That is the following item. The envisioned Franklin land use plan places this parcel into the regional commerce design concept. Envision Franklin states that this design concept contains high intensity activity centers that attract large numbers of people and employers from both within and outside of the city. These areas include major employment revenue generators that are valuable community resources. It further states that new development should have integrated designs with coordinated access, amenities, and cohesive architecture that fits within the context of the corridor. The existing lot contains a large office building surrounded by surface parking lots. The proposed rezoning to PD with the entitlements is appropriate to achieve the recommendation of the regional commerce design concept as outlined in Envision Franklin and allow for the applicant to create a cohesive and integrated development that is pedestrian oriented. Staff recommends approval to the board of Mayor and Alderman.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, so staff, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this item?
Give me just 1 second to check the phone lines, please.
Okay.
We have no one on the phone line.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone representing the applicant who wishes to speak on this item?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, this is Alderman Berger. I'm not on the phone lines, I'm on the Zoom. When I do have a comment on this, but when would you like that?
Let's wait till after the applicant's presentation.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Lindsay, this is Dirk Melton. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight. My name is Dirk Melton. I'm representing our team on behalf of the applicant, Market Street Enterprises. It's turning into a late night for you all, so I'm going to make my comments brief, briefer than I intended, and then I'll allow my colleague Brian Wright to provide more details with some visuals for you during the redevelopment plan resolution, which is up next. Tonight, we're requesting your consideration for the rezoning of the Carruthers building at 9009 Carruthers Boulevard. For some of you, you'll know this is actually the first large commercial office campus that was built in the city of Franklin in the mid-1990s for Ford Motor Credit, also known as the Primus building. At the time, the typical suburban office park featured standalone buildings surrounded by C's and C's with surface parking. So here we are 25 years later with a new land use plan in the city of Franklin. I believe we have a perfect project to put both of those policies into practice by taking 50 acres of asphalt parking lots and turning those into a walkable, vibrant, and dynamic mixed-use project called East Works District. Now more than ever, people are seeking places to live and work based on a sense of community, walkability, and convenience right at their doorstep. East Works is the project for that community, a project that we expect will take fully 20 years to build out. and features at least six distinct building phases. Upon completion, the existing Carruthers building, which involves 1 million square feet of new commercial uses, including office space, hotels, retail, restaurants, and community space, as well as 1,600 new residential units on the property. Our project is the first major redevelopment to be considered under the new zoning ordinance, and we are so fortunate that what we're proposing is perfectly aligned with both Envision Franklin and the new planned district zoning classification. Last year, when we started putting our rezoning application together under the old SDX zoning classification based on the previous zoning ordinance, it required dozens and dozens of modification of standard requests to line up our vision for the property with what the former zoning would allow. In consultation with staff, we were encouraged to work with the city to align our application with the new zoning ordinance that was enacted at the end of last year. We thought that was a good idea, so we waited until the new ordinance was passed to submit our application, which we did in March. The result of that collaboration is what you'll see tonight. I have to say we are so pleased with the result of these efforts in consultation with the city over many months. Our application from dozens of modification standard requests under the old ordinance down to just 7 under the new one, 6 of which have to do with signage. That's a great outcome, and it was due to a lot of hard work by our team and by the city staff, resulting in a thorough and thoughtful rezoning package that our team is really proud of. On that note, I really have to thank all the city staff members who have guided us through this process. Our project is better as a result of your efforts, and we're thankful for the opportunity to work with such dedicated professionals of the city who really care about quality development and community character. I also want to thank those of you in the Planning Commission for having the foresight, vision, and leadership to pass an innovative new zoning ordinance that really sets the stage for the next generation of commercial and residential buildings in the city of Franklin. I expect that you will see many quality projects follow our lead, working to reimagine key properties in the city in a thoughtful way that respects the unique character of the city. And finally, I'd like to thank our community of neighbors and stakeholders who've expressed interest in our project, as evidenced by a great turnout during our virtual neighborhood meeting we had on May 5th. That meeting resulted in some excellent suggestions that will inform the host of offerings we wish to bring to the Eastworks District community in the form of unique restaurants, shops, and services. We intend to continue that dialogue if we're fortunate enough to gain approval from the city to proceed with our plans, and we could not be more excited about the opportunity to bring Eastworks District to life following the rezoning process. Thanks so much for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions either now or following Brian's presentation. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Dirk. Okay, is there a motion for this item?
Mr. Chair, I believe that Alderman Berger did have a comment she wanted to make.
Alderman Berger, would you like to go ahead with your comment?
Sure, thank you so much. I just want to briefly just say this is in my ward, so I'm very interested in this project. I am happy that this is going to get redeveloped because it, I think you said, Dirk, too, that, and I'll just reiterate that it is 50 acres of asphalt. That causes a lot of stormwater runoff, poor water quality.
Alderman Berger? Alderman Berger, I think your connection's frozen.
Did the applicant have any more comments?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we've lost her now. Okay. All right. So is there a motion on this item then?
I'd like to make a move for approval to the board, mayor and alderman. This is Scott.
Okay. Motion by Scott.
Second by Ann.
By Ann. Okay. And this is a recommendation for approval to the Board of Mayor and Alderman. Okay, so I will do the roll call vote on this item then. We'll start off with Commissioner Allen.
Have you got some discussions?
All right, is there any discussion? Okay, Jimmy?
Yes, sir. Back at the workshop, I know Alderman Berger mentioned how many for sale units were they allocating there at that project? I know that Commissioner McLemore mentioned it as well, and that we were trying to get the answer to that question, where there are going to be some for sale townhouses or flats, et cetera, besides all the commercial in there.
This is just for the rezone. Wouldn't that come up in the next item?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I got kicked off.
You you want to finish your comment then, Beverly?
Well, it was pretty much done. I just want to say in the end that that the positives of improving water quality for rezoning here and putting something different like mixed use, their plan looks pretty good. And it just that I want to say it fits Envision Franklin, and it's our biggest, actually, an urban area redevelopment. Thank you. That's all.
Great. Thank you. And Jimmy, we'll catch yours on the next item too. So
thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Being none, we'll proceed with our roll call vote. Commissioner Allen. Marcia, are you on mute?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore.
Aye.
Commissioner Orr. Michael? Michael, you're frozen.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Commissioner Szilagyi?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Chairman Hathaway has recused himself on this item. So, okay, the motion passes. Item number 8 is a consideration of Resolution 2020-61, a resolution approving a development plan for the East Works District PUD subdivision with a mere 7 modifications of development standards relative to multifamily building entrances and signage standards for the property located north of Meridian Boulevard and west of Carruthers Parkway, located at 9009 Carruthers Parkway. So staff presentation.
Thank you. The applicant is proposing approximately 1,600 dwelling units consisting of multifamily and attached residential units, approximately 1 million square feet of both existing and proposed commercial space, as well as 605 hotel keys for the site that equates to about 49.96 acres. This is within the regional commerce design concept of Envision Franklin. Your staff report does have excerpts from Envision Franklin and how the plan meets those recommendations. I'm just going to hit on a few key points within the staff report. The plan as proposed meets many of the recommendations and guiding principles of Envision Franklin. It eliminates existing surface area parking lots by constructing new buildings with internal parking garages. The layout of the site allows for full frontal activation for most of the buildings. The proposed setbacks and street network promotes ground level activity and walkability for the entire site. Envision Franklin does say that first floors are encouraged to have active commercial spaces, including retail, restaurants, other amenities, which should be individually accessible from the street. In locations where commercial use on the first floor is not viable, multifamily units should provide individual ground floor entrances, stoops, or front porches, and pedestrian connections to the street to a drive resembling a street. Multifamily buildings are encouraged to have urban form and be part of a connected master plan site. The multifamily buildings that are proposed are a major component of Eastworks, the PUD, with approximately 1,600 dwelling units. The plan proposes a cohesive development of urban living with a variety of ground floor retail and eatery options. The plan does incorporate some individual ground floor entrances for ground floor dwelling units as required by the zoning ordinance. However, they have submitted a modification of standard request for consolidated entrances at some locations, and we can get into that further with the MOS requests. A parking study has been submitted with the development plan that analyzes needed parking for peak hours. The applicant has incorporated shared parking that will be phased throughout the construction of the site and of the plan. The parking study calls for an approximate 40% reduction in what is required by the zoning ordinance. The plan proposes keeping a green space with mature shade trees near the existing office building. This area serves as a communal gathering space, further emphasizing the pedestrian-oriented design, in addition to the smaller pockets of green space to the interior and around the perimeter of the property. There are 7 modification of standards requests, and we'll just go through them one by one. First is to request to allow consolidated entrances for ground floor multifamily residential units. Section 6.7 of the zoning ordinance states facades along a street or internal drive for multifamily buildings shall have individual entrances to all ground floor dwelling units. The goal of individual entrances for these dwelling units is to have activated streets, limiting the degree that has been presented in the MOS does not meet the standard and does not achieve the pedestrian-oriented principle of regional commerce as outlined in the envisioned Franklin land use plan. So for modification of standard number 1, staff recommends disapproval. Also, you do have a supplement in your materials for the modification of standards that go through them one by one, and also offer visuals that provided by the applicant. So if you want to follow along with that as well. For MOS number 2, the applicant is requesting the use of irregular shaped signs for hanging and wall signs. Section 15.1.3 of the ordinance states that signs shall not be irregularly shaped. Staff believes that allowing these regularly shaped signs as proposed would go directly against the intent of the recently updated sign regulations of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, it could set a precedent for other requests outside of the Eastworks District's development. Staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 2. As a consideration, if it is the desire of the commission and Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve this particular modification request, staff would advise that it be limited to hanging signs only, because they requested hanging and wall signs. For MOS number 3, they are requesting to allow additional signs in addition to wall signs. Section 15.4 of the ordinance limits the number of wall signs to 1 per main entrance per storefront on the ground floor if no other wall signs is present on the building. Due to the urban context of the development and the scale of the project, additional signage for band signs could be supported per ground floor tenant in addition to allowed wall signs. So for MOS number 3, staff recommends approval. For MOS number 4, the applicant is requesting to use internal illumination for canopy signage. Section 15.5 allows for external illumination only. Staff believes this would go against the intent of the recently updated sign ordinance, could set a precedent for other requests outside of Eastworks District. Staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 4. MOS number 5, the applicant is requesting to increase the maximum size of hanging signage to 6 square feet per side and allow internal illumination. Section 15.10 of the ordinance limits the size of hanging signs to 3 square feet per side and for external illumination only. The proposed size sign of 6 square feet or 12 square feet total seems too large and does not meet the intent of the signage regulations of the ordinance, either as well as the internal illuminated signage similar with canopy signage. For these reasons, staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 5. As a consideration, staff could support increasing the size of the hanging signs to 4.5 square feet per side, as that is the current maximum for hanging signs in the local historic districts as recommended by the Franklin Historic District Design Guidelines. So the hanging signs on Main Street, they have recommended maximum size of 4.5 square feet per side. For MOS number 6, the applicant is requesting to allow one vertical blade per building frontage in addition to allowed hanging signs for ground floor tenants. Section 15.14 of the ordinance limits the number of vertical blade signs to 1 per building if no other hanging signs exist. With the size and scale of the proposed development, 1 vertical blade sign per frontage in addition to the allowed hanging signs for other tenants would be appropriate. As a condition of approval, the applicant shall provide more specific language to the MOS about allowed locations for vertical blade signs to be located only at intersection corners and building massing changes. Staff recommends approval with conditions for MOS number 6. One more. A request to allow wall signs per building in addition to allowed band signs. The applicant is requesting to allow 2 wall signs located at the roof line of the building, certain buildings, in addition to the allowed band signs with only 1 wall sign allowed per frontage. Section 15.15 of the zoning ordinance limits wall signs per building facade only if no band signs exist on the building. 2 wall signs located at the roof line of a mixed-use commercial building, limiting 1 per frontage, in addition to the allowed band signs, could be supported given the size and scale of the proposed development. As a condition of approval, the applicant shall include in the final language that this MOS is limited to buildings of 6 stories or higher. Staff recommends approval with conditions of MOS number 7. And as a project overall, project consideration for building height for the subject property, Appendix G of Envision Franklin places the portion of this parcel that fronts Carruthers Parkway into a recommended maximum height of 6 stories. When the zoning map was updated in 2019, it placed the entirety of this parcel into a regional commerce-based district, which allows up to 12 stories by right. Additionally, the Appendix G shows the parcels to the south of the subject property within the 12-story max along Carruthers Parkway. For these reasons, staff can support the proposed height range of 6 to 12 stories for the buildings that front Carruthers, despite the recommendations of Envision Franklin. However, if possible, taller buildings should be designed internal to the site. And staff recommends approval of the resolution to the board, mayor and alderman. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Joseph. Is there any public comment for this item?
We don't have anyone on the phone line, but I believe Alderman Berger wishes to make a public comment.
Okay, Alderman Berger.
Hi. Thank you, Roger. Yeah, so this has a lot more to it, and I just wanted to mention a few things. I asked to meet with Reagan Smith and Market Street to go over this extensively, because I have a big interest in this since it's in my ward and since it's our first big redevelopment. Eastworks plan, the modification of standards that they're asking for, I agree with most of those because looking over them, let's just talk about the consolidated entrance. I'm not sure I agree that we should limit them to just consolidated, not limit them to access at the street level, because there's a couple of things that come into play when you're looking at an urban area. And the urban area here that they're trying to create, a lot of times have consolidated entrances. And also another feature for consolidated entrances are reasons of safety. And so I think we ought to take that into consideration. But I do think there ought to be street entrances mixed in with this, because you're going to have people that maybe be on the corner, maybe they'll be on the side back near grassy areas where if they have dogs, they can walk straight out the door. And there's a number of reasons to have some street entrances. And I think we ought to have a mix of that. And I don't think we should blanketly say that all of these units need to be street entrance. So I'm going to speak to that. again, that's building on the true urban mix that we see here, and the aesthetics of an urban area and the security. And I'll just lump all these modification standards together rather than going one by one. But the proportions, actually the shape and everything. As I looked at this and considered these modification standards, I'm very interested in a really great development here, a really great redevelopment in the area that looks fantastic. I look over and see what they're doing with North McEwen, and I look and see what they can do here possibly. And we always talk about character and sense of place in downtown Franklin. Well, why not here? Why do we not talk about character and sense of place here? And when you look at these signs, to have a sign that has a coffee cup on it and says cafe, that's unique. If you ever go down to look at different places around South Carolina, go to Habersham, take a look at what they've done there and look at other places. They have uniqueness, and I'm not really interested in vanilla here. And I think we have to be very careful. I think this modification standard on some of these signs are a good thing, because I don't want a development just because it's in an urban area to be vanilla. And I think we have to be cautious about that. So supporting the character and the sense of place through unique signs plays a huge role in the character of a place. The other thing is we've talked about, let me just take a quick look here. That was one, modification standard. 2, 3 talks about band signs. You know, as long as they're in moderation and they're not throwing it through the entire development, which I don't think that that's the intent. The canopy sign lit, if you look at that one there that says Montvale Hotel, I think that's very classy looking. I think that is an internal, a sign internal to the development would be very unique and bring a lot of character to the place. And you're talking about hanging signs. I think Joey said something about eliminate it to 4.5 feet, such as the ones on Main Street. Maybe 6 feet's too large. I probably agree with that. But I think there's a place for some hanging signs. And if you look at the Starbucks sign or the Insomnia cookies, internally lit, a lot of these signs are internally lit. So you want to see them at night, but they're low light. So they're not out there in disturbing lights in the evening. It's a soft lit light. And I would support that all day long. I think it brings a lot of character. And again, with the vertical blade signs, the last two, I would just say vertical blade signs, as long as they're used very sparingly, I think that would be a good idea. To put something unique, again, you get a variety, you get a mix. And it's with the wall signs, I think we have to be careful that we don't overdo the wall signs, and the wall signs could possibly be used sparingly as well. And I think there was one last thing that was put down that was said. Let me look at my notes. We talked about the signs. I just think a variety of options and character that area. And I think that's probably, just the height of the buildings. Staff did not support the 6 to 12 stories out front on Carruthers, and I totally agree with that. I think we have to be careful we don't get too high of stories for buildings out there near right on Carruthers, because it deviates from the character of the area. Thank you. That's all my comments.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Berger. Do we have a presentation by the applicant now?
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the time. I'm Brian Wright, Principal of Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative, and I think I've presented to all of you before. So none of this will be new, but we know that the public does have the opportunity to be involved in this. So we will share with you or with them what you all have seen, and I'll go pretty quickly though and try to get through the presentation. If I could have screen control, that would be great.
Sorry, one second.
Take your time.
It should be allowing you to share.
There we go. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, let me know if I get ahead of the slides. So for those who are new to the project, it is located here in the red dashed area. This is I-65, Cool Springs Boulevard, Carruthers Parkway, and Baker's Bridge. We have Meridian Development here, and then the IRS building is here. So this is our site. One of the things that we focused on from the beginning of this project was making sure that the overall plan, the vision for this was directly spawned from Envision Franklin, and really became, hopefully the embodiment of those ideas for a regional commerce area. And then with the new zoning ordinance, we had a much easier time than we did when we were going in under the old zoning ordinance. I think we at some point had maybe 50 MOSs under the old zoning ordinance, and now we're, as you've heard, we're down to 7. So that is really exciting and helpful for the team. If you've not been into the site, this is what it looks like. We referred to the lots of asphalt. This is one of the predominant scenes when you're there, lots of parking on the site. But there are some moments of greenery around the edges and some in the middle that we're looking to preserve. Here it is from the air, roughly 50 acres. There's the existing office building on the site that's about 500,000 square feet. And one of the charges that we were given when we began working on the master plan was to make sure that this building was able to stay in operation and intact through that. You can also see some of the existing tree stands, and you'll notice in a little bit how we've worked hard to preserve, in particular, this area here, even though it's a much more intense type of development than you see in a conventional suburban area. So this is Carruthers Parkway again for orientation. Here's I-65 and then Meridian here. So we currently have 4 access points into the site, one of which goes directly into a parking structure, and that helps alleviate some of the traffic concerns. But the intent of the project is to really be focused on a mix of uses, character first, creating a true neighborhood. And that word isn't often used when you're talking about something that is less suburban or more urban like this project is, but we really do want this to feel like and be a true urban neighborhood. You can see the purple areas here and here are intended to have a hotel component. The orange buildings are intended to have office components. And then we have the darker areas along this main area here are from our main street coming in around the main green space with the existing mature trees preserved. This is all for mixed use. And we've even taken the idea of the existing cafeteria in the building that serves the employees right now and actually turning it inside out and allowing it to be a cafe that helps make this side of the main village green feel exciting as well. You'll see there's a number of civic spaces of different types of parks, from large parks to small parks to courtyards to plazas with outdoor dining, plazas that are just plazas, and then the areas where we're focused on some of our stormwater techniques also being intended to be available for recreation areas, and then keeping the mature trees along the edge of the property. And then, as you can see, adding an innumerable amount of street trees throughout. The idea would be to have on-street parking on nearly every street, every location. And the idea also is to focus on, while these are large buildings that essentially are a block, having the parking distributed throughout the development roughly one per block, we end up being able to have a better distribution of our traffic flow in and out of the project at different times of the day. And then we're also really focused on the idea of breaking down the facades so that they don't feel like giant, monotonous, long walls of building. It needs to really feel intimate. And so community character, as I said, was one of our fundamental guiding principles. So the architecture will be representative of the heritage and history of Franklin, maybe with a modern twist on it. Looking at these images show some of our inspiration images, but incorporating cool ideas like some outdoor rooftop decks and ground floor mixed use and commercial. It's really cool indoor courtyards within the multifamily developments. Some of the smaller scale liner buildings and everything in between can be really exciting. And even having some detached or some attached row houses as part of this. Here's what we're looking at for those, a little bit maybe more modern than some of the other buildings. Because this is a bit more urban, we wanted to make sure that not only did we have a number of civic spaces of various sizes and types, we also wanted to make sure that they were exciting and interesting. And so you could actually come here and it could be a family oriented place. It could be, for people, who development coming there and enjoying these open spaces as well. And then we also, to the point about having this place be really unique, not only do we want our signage to be unique, but we also want to have public art and activation with things like bistro lights and murals and art installations and these types of things that make this a really special and unique place in the city and a true urban neighborhood. Even using things like our sustainable stormwater areas as opportunities for character and activation and enlivenment of the site. Here are some of our renderings. The bird's eye view of the entire property. Here is Carruthers Parkway along here and I-65 in the back. You see our entrances coming in here. This one goes into the parking garage, another entrance here, as well as lots of connectivity whenever we have the opportunity or topography allows us to connect into the adjacent parcels. And we're looking to, you'll see here, we've shown a transit stop. Hopefully at some point transit is even more predominant in this area, and there's a great opportunity and location right in the middle of the main green to have transit as well, so that would actually have a loop within the development. You can see that all of our parking is hidden so that you don't have to see it. It'll be well signed, well lit, and very safe, but it's not hanging out there and messing up our streetscapes. And you can start to get the idea that even along Carruthers Parkway, we view this as really a linear park. We don't shy away from it. The buildings actually, face onto it with entrances and windows and all of that. We know that when you have a development like this and streetscapes that are created, part of this development, it'll actually have a calming effect on this road, and people will take note as they drive past the development and maybe hopefully slow down a little bit. One thing you may note too is we've actually increased the height of some of the buildings here to represent the 12-story height. And so you get a sense of, it's kind of interesting. It actually adds a lot of interest, in my opinion, and variety to the development, having sort of the up and down of the roof lines. And so I'm really excited to have added that to the renderings. This is a view. This is Carruthers Parkway in the back here. This is a view of our main neighborhood green with the existing mature trees. Some of our smaller scale, what we call jewel box buildings with some either pavilions or light commercial opportunities. And you start to see that the parking again is lined with the habitable space, but have a mix of uses on the ground floor with people walking out, dining, hanging out in these great civic spaces throughout the development. This is a view looking at some of the row houses opportunities and how they would fit in even with some of the larger building blocks. The facade of these buildings would be broken down so that it actually started to resemble and reflect those row houses, and that character continues throughout. But of course, the streetscape is super important throughout this whole project. This is a view looking across. This is the corner of the main village green. The mature trees are just off the view. You can see here one of the pavilions, some of our public art, maybe even the opportunity to incorporate some of our sustainable stormwater into that. And then you can see, even things like we've tried to illustrate some of these vertical signs and some of those unique things we're looking to do in the project as well, and how we've broken down the facades, even though this, for all intents and purposes, is really one building. You can start to see how it reads along the streetscape as multiple buildings. You can see we've incorporated our sustainable stormwater techniques into the view, into the streetscape here. Some of our traffic calming, like the visual narrowing of the intersection radii, as well as our biking facilities and all the great pedestrian facilities as well. This is a view in from our from Carruthers Boulevard along our main street. Again, the outdoor dining. This building is taller in this view than it was previously, so you get the sense this is that 12-story building I was showing you. But our sustainable stormwater and pavilions and all of that throughout the development, just consistency of that character, but also having it be unique and very interesting. Not going to go into detail on these modifications of standards. They've been talked about thoroughly this evening even, and you all have seen the exhibits. But I did want to, because I know the exhibits are a little bit small, one thing I did want to do is actually zoom in on a few of these images so you can start to see what we're looking at, were some of these consolidated entrances on some of these streetscapes. So you can imagine this one entrance, you could have access to multiple units within that. There's sort of a buffer for the residents that are here. You see here all over the country, all over the world, historic apartment houses over the years. Obviously, the scale of development and building we're talking about is a bit larger scale than this. But the idea of a consolidated entrance for multiple units, this is a 6 or 12 unit building, and you have these great porches and terraces that overlook the street. This is a really good example in Atlanta. These are apartments, but you have the consolidated entrances in some locations. And here what we've tried to do so that it's not a free-for-all and can happen anywhere, we've shown where we like for them to be able to be considered. We didn't show anything over here because this is mixed use and it's allowed to have consolidated entrances for the ground floor commercial as well as access to the upper units. But what you see here is there's a logic and a rationale to how we determined where we might put individual entrances or consolidated entrances. Conversely, what we wanted to do is make sure that individual entrances were across from other individual entrances, so there was some consistency there. So you see on these kind of more internal, intimate streets, that's what that feeling was to be. But then we also recognize that even if we one day reskin this building, the existing building on the site architecturally, it's still pretty large scale and monolithic. So we thought here it would be appropriate to have some more consolidated entrances and then also facing the edges of the neighborhood, allowing consolidated entrances to occur there. But one of our big concerns is really topographically, how we are able to accomplish the individual entrances. And so that's one of the main reasons we're looking for some flexibility there, but also to some of the market preferences. Over time, I think we're seeing a greater shift to those individual entrances. And so it's not as difficult for the market to accept. But I think that it is a consideration moving forward. I echo everything that Alderman Berger said about the signs, the uniqueness of that. I think that even from our perspective on the development team, we'd like to, show some restraint in how much of that we use. It could get a little bit wacky, but as long as they're done tastefully, artistically, and as with everything in this project, the highest quality is really what we want to do, and make sure that they're not. I always shudder every time we hear the term irregularly shaped signage. We call them iconic signs. We call them, signs of character. And so that's what we're looking to do. And the internal illumination, I understand the concerns about that. There are many examples of really awful internally illuminated signs. And so what we've tried to do is show examples of things that are elegant and beautiful and well done, because we would definitely not want to do anything that undermines the overall aesthetic and level of character of the project. And the way I think about our signage, and I should have said this at the beginning of this part of the discussion, but it's curated. The whole development is curated and very intentionally, because there are some ways you can do signage and you're like, oh, we've got this signage concept and theme, and it feels, even if it's nice, it just feels vanilla and homogenous and everything's the same. And so it has to be thoughtfully done. Like, where do we do this type of sign? Where would we want to have a vertical blade sign, or where we want to have an icon sign or an internally illuminated canopy, so that it doesn't detract from the other parts of the development around it. And so here, having a little bit larger visibility, one of the differences in this project in downtown Franklin is we end up having to have our roads be a little bit wider based on some of the engineering standards. And so some of them are pretty big, so you don't have as quite an intimate pedestrian scale as we would have liked to have done, which would allow for the signs to have been a little bit smaller. So we've asked for them to be a little bit bigger. And just as a frame of reference, a 2x3 or 6 square feet is really like a 24x36 poster. And then we talked about the vertical blade signs, again, curated, beautifully done, but we're willing to, and we have limited ourselves. We've gone back and forth with staff. We've worked really hard to try to come up with something that everyone was happy with and they were comfortable with. And some of these items, as you can tell from Joey's lack of a recommendation on them, we couldn't quite get to the goal line or get over the goal line. And so that's why we've come before you all to help us sort out those last few points. But we're really happy with all the progress we've made. And as Dirk said, staff has been unbelievable through this process. So that's all I've got for you tonight. Any questions? We're happy to answer. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you. So we're going to handle, let's see, I want just for a point of clarification, because one of the items that was contained in the staff report talked about the issue of the height of the buildings relative to Carruthers. Let me get back to that here, because you pointed out a couple of times, Brian, that there were some more internal buildings that potentially were 12 stories tall, but it looked like the buildings along Carruthers were a shorter building. Is that defined? How well defined is that? And how does that play relative to the staff's discussion about, our concern for height along Carruthers?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So what we've done in the submittal is actually limited where the 6 to 12 story height range is allowed, and it's only in those first the blocks along Carruthers, and then also one block sort of adjacent to that. So the block B as well. So as Joey mentioned, in the new zoning ordinance map, there's not a restriction on height that limits it along Carruthers as it used to, or as it does in Envision Franklin. And so what we, it's my perspective just as a planner, getting to work around the country and seeing all types of best practices. And I mentioned this I think in the workshop maybe last time, when you have a road that's as wide as Carruthers is, limiting the height of the buildings along it actually has the effect of making it feel even wider than it is. So the height to width ratio of a street and the buildings adjacent to it has a direct correlation to how fast people are willing to drive, how comfortable they feel speeding, and all of that. And so we do have some amount of setback already. In an ideal situation, you'd actually have buildings even closer to Carruthers and tall starts to make it feel more narrow. So for those reasons, we've requested the 6 to 12 stories to allow for that height range, and really keep that sort of the allowable height under the existing zoning, even though we recognize that we're doing a PD here rather than using that existing zoning. Dirk, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's well said, Brian. And I'll just add just a quick market observation for that. It's true that we have a variety of different commercial and residential uses proposed in the plan. And one of the reasons why we requested that flexibility is because different commercial uses in particular have different floor to floor heights, which affect their overall height. And it's possible to have a building that has more stories within a certain physical height measured in feet than another type. So for instance, a 5-story commercial office building is about the same height as an 8-story hotel. And so not knowing exactly, what our mix is and exactly where everything goes, that would just provide us some element of flexibility when we go to site plan to work with staff and devise, the proper heights and dimensions of the project that's compatible with the master plan.
Yeah, and one very important thing that I actually failed to mention, just thought of, just remembered was, while the zoning limits us, all of our studies and also off-site improvements and those types of things actually are a limiting factor as well. And so what we know is that even if we go 12 stories in one area, we can't exceed what we've asked for or used in our calculations for our study. So if we go 12 stories in one area and our calculations are all limited at 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever they are, we have to go down somewhere else. So it's really an overall balancing, kind of like cut and fill, if you will, balancing it on the site, knowing that we are limited by those studies that we've provided.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion for this item? We'll do it like we usually do with modifications of standards. We'll start with the main motion, and then after we proceed into that, we'll take individual motions for each of the modifications of standards. So I need a motion for the main motion.
Move for approval with conditions to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This is Scott.
Second, this is Alma.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion and a second to recommend approval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And so we'll take up modification of standard number 1, the request to allow consolidated entrances for ground floor multifamily residential units. Staff, Amy, are you? Where's Amy?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we got a box up for vote on current item. Is that for the modification of standards or?
No, that's for, yes, it's for the modification of standards. You haven't made a motion yet. So when someone makes a motion, then you can enter your vote into there.
Okay. So vote on the first modification of standards. Is there a motion for the first modification of standards?
Move for approval for modifications of standards number 1.
Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Michael? I'm sorry, who seconded? Mike? Okay. We have a motion and a second for approval for modification of standards number 1. Is there any discussion? Marcia?
Yes, for some reason, my space bar stopped working about an hour ago. Yes, my question to staff on this is, I noticed that during the presentation from the applicant that there is a certain percentage in which the ordinance is followed. What percentage of the ground floor does not meet the ordinance? What percentage of these entrances are not 1 per? Or can you tell me, or do we know?
We don't know for sure. We don't have the exact just unit numbers on the ground levels, like for the total, and then figure out a percentage. We just kind of, I guess, eyeballed it, if you will. That it looked about half were individual entrances and the other half were consolidated entrances. So just because the zoning ordinance requires that all ground floor units have some sort of entrance to the street level, then that's why we recommended disapproval.
Okay, thanks.
And these are just on the residential units.
Yes, sir. This is just for multifamily. And just to clarify, the multifamily can have consolidated entrances, and the main door entrance to the apartment or whatever it is can be internal to the building. The zoning ordinance just requires some sort of entry access points to the ground level. So patio with a sidewalk, or a little gated area or gate to get out to the street level. So that's the intent of the zoning ordinance. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote then. Commissioner Allen?
Miss Allen, no. Did you say commissioner or Mr.?
Commissioner?
No.
No. Commissioner Franks? Jimmy?
Is he muted?
Yeah, he's showing muted. Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr? Michael? Mike Orr?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Okay, I got you, Michael. And Commissioner Salagi?
No.
And Commissioner Hathaway is recused. Who else? We were missing Jimmy. Jimmy, did you ever come back? Jimmy's still on recess. I'm going to call Jimmy absent. Okay.
I'm here, Roger.
Okay. How do you vote, Jimmy, on the motion was for approval of modification of standards number 1?
Yeah, I approve.
Okay. Okay, so that motion carries for approval of modification of standards number 1. Modification of standards number 2 is requesting the use of irregular shapes for hanging wall signs. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Alma, second.
Jimmy, motion to approve. And
Now, are
Al,
you saying only, this is for hanging only?
this is for hanging wall signs.
Because the staff said that would be okay for hanging, right?
This is Joey. Just to clarify, the request is for irregular shaped signs for hanging and wall signs as being presented by the applicant. So hanging, and there are hanging signs and wall signs. I just forgot to put the "and" in my statement.
Okay, but I thought you were saying that if there were just hanging signs, that the staff would be okay with it. Is that correct?
That was my consideration as part of that MOS recommendation of disapproval, if that makes sense.
Disapproval.
And so, wait, I'm sorry.
Disapproval is what staff.
But then didn't they go on and did it also not say that they would be, that hanging signs would be acceptable?
Yes, that's what was in that modification.
And that is what the motion is.
The motion is for approval of the modification of standards.
I thought the motion was approval for modification standards for wall signs. I mean, for hanging signs, excuse me.
It's supposed to be for hanging and wall signs. when the vote box is up on our screen, we can't scroll back to that staff report and look back at what it says.
Well, I actually looked at it. Yes, I can. And
Okay,
it says, if the applicant wishes to proceed with the request for irregular shaped signs, they must be limited to hanging signs only. Is what the staff says, staff report says. And that's what I thought our motion was.
This is Joey. I believe the motion is for the MOS as presented by the applicant, which includes hanging and wall signs.
It did not, that was not said that way though.
Yes, I apologize. In the staff report, I forgot to put the "and" in there, so it's hanging and wall signs.
Roger, if I can have the floor for a second.
certainly.
The one thing that I would say is this is the updated sign it's just been recently updated. So we just recently updated this. So if an irregularly shaped sign comes up, okay, they would just be able to place it. It has to go through no type of approval, right? So if we approve this modification of standard, and there is a irregularly shaped sign, wall hanging or wall sign, they would just be able to do that, right? We would give them carte blanche to do that. My concern is we just went through this sign regulation being updated, correct?
Yes.
That's correct. It was updated with the new zoning ordinance. A permit would be required for the sign or a signage review through our Building and Neighborhood Services Department. But with this modification, it would have to be approved by that department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, so the motion is for approval of the request for the modification of standards. And I'm looking back at the staff report, and that exception that's described in one of the other modifications of standards is not in that one. Okay, there's just a recommendation by staff for disapproval of this one. So we have a motion for approval and a second. Is there any other discussion?
It just, Roger, I think it's totally harmless, and it's important to have the character of some good signage on a walkable community like that. It's complementary to the community and complementary to the patrons that are there. So I support it.
Okay, well, let's do the roll call vote then. Commissioner Allen?
Nay.
Commissioner Franks?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr? Michael? I'll come back. Commissioner Peterson?
No.
Commissioner Salagi?
Yes.
Michael Orr, are you back with us?
Aye.
Michael votes aye.
Aye.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I forget to get mine checked on my other screen here when I'm, okay, and Mike is recused. Okay, modification of standards number 3, that motion passed for number 2. This is a request to allow additional band signs in addition to wall signs. And if I look at the staff report for modification number 3, it says the applicant is requesting to allow additional band signs, 1 band sign per tenant, in addition to any allowed wall signage. the section of the zoning ordinance limits the number of wall signs to 1 per main entrance per storefront on the ground floor if no other wall sign is present on the building. Staff can support the request of additional band signs of 1 per ground floor tenant in addition to allowed wall signs. Staff recommends approval of MOS number 3. Is there a motion for this item?
I move for approval.
Ann, did you move?
Yes.
Ann, okay. Move for approval. Ann Peterson.
Alma seconds.
And Alma seconds, okay. Is there any discussion? There being none, we'll go to roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr, Mike, Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Good, good. Thank you. Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
and Chairman has recused. Motion modification of standards number 3 has passed. Modification number 4 is a request for internally illuminated canopy lighting. The applicant is requesting to use internally illumination. Section 15.5 of the zoning ordinance allows for external illumination of canopy signage only. Staff believes that allowing internal illumination would go directly against the intent of the recently updated sign regulations. It could set a precedent for other requests outside of Eastworks. Staff recommends disapproval of MOS number 4. Is there a motion for this item?
I move to disapprove. Recommend
Second.
disapprove.
There's a motion to disapprove.
Second.
Ann Peterson. And Marcia, you were the second? Okay.
Yes.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I do. Not in support of the disapproval of it. I think that it adds a very fine diverse lighting and diverse signage in there. And you've got a huge complex in there that deserves the lighting and the illumination of these type of signs that are not intrusive of any lighting or any homeowner's lighting that would was designed for. I mean, it is harmless, but it is needed for a community like that. When you encompass a huge site like that, you need some lighting. And so my support, I'm not supportive of the disapproval of it.
Okay.
But haven't we just recently had this as approved as a part of our new zoning ordinance?
This was actually part of the previous ordinance as well,
I
and it
agree.
continued
I
over.
I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would say that I know the images presented by the applicant are very attractive looking, but I do have a real concern about this setting a precedent. And while the images look attractive on this one, you never know what's going to come down the pike as far as maybe the next one's not being so pretty and not kind of realizing what we've done in this vote.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? We'll go to a roll call vote then. This is a motion to disapprove for modification of standards number 4 for internally illuminated canopy lighting. Motion to disapprove. Commissioner Allen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Franks?
No.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
and Chairman Hathaway is recused. So that motion passes, and that's a motion to disapprove. And I have just lost my Zoom.
We can still see you.
You can see me?
Yes.
Lost my screen, huh?
And we can hear you too.
We can see and hear you.
So that's good.
Okay.
You're almost there.
Look in the top right corner and see if maybe you minimized.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, now I got, okay, there we come.
Okay.
Good, okay. All right, modification of standards number 5 is a request to increase the maximum size of hanging sign to 6 square feet per side and to allow internal illumination. And modification number 5, section 15.10 of the zoning ordinance limits the size of hanging signs to 3 square feet per side and allows for external illumination only. The proposed sign size of 6 seems too large, does not meet the intent of the signage regulations. Internally illuminated signage is not supported in any capacity within the zoning ordinance. Staff recommends disapproval of modification number 5. And then a side note, as a consideration, staff could support increasing the size to 4.5 square feet per side, as that's the current maximum for hanging signs in the local historic districts as recommended by the Franklin Historic District Design Guidelines. So
I'll make a motion for 4.5 feet.
the motion to approve the modification for a 4.5 foot per side size.
I'll second.
I'd like to amend that motion, make it 4.5 feet with external lighting only.
Okay,
Second.
hang on. We have a motion for approval at 4.5 feet. And that was seconded by who?
Alma.
Alma.
You said with external lighting only though.
Yeah, Scott had
I amended it to 4.5 feet with external lighting only.
Okay, so the motion to amend that to 4.5 feet with external lighting only. Is there a second for that?
There was a
motion?
second.
Who seconded?
Peterson.
Is there any discussion on the motion to amend the 4.5 feet per side with external lighting only? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Motion to amend. Aye. Commissioner Franks?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi?
Aye.
And Mike is recused. Okay. So that the motion to amend passes. That's a motion for approval for a 4.5 foot sign with external lighting only. So that motion for approval of modification of standards number 5 passes then, right?
No, the motion to amend the motion to amend the MOS passed. So now you're left with a 4.5 foot only, no internal illumination. Now that still has to pass.
Okay. With external illumination only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have that main motion on that MOS then is for a approval of a 4.5 foot sign per side with external illumination only. So we'll do roll call vote. Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye, Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
and Chairman Hathaway is recused. Okay, so modification request number 5 has passed at 4.5 feet with external illumination only. Okay, modification of standards number 6. The request to allow 1 vertical blade sign per frontage in addition to allowing hanging signs for ground floor tenants. So section 1514 of the zoning ordinance limits the number of vertical blade signs to 1 per building if no other hanging signs exist. With the size and scale of the proposed development, 1 vertical blade sign per frontage in addition to the allowed hanging signs for other tenants would be appropriate. As a condition of approval, the applicant shall provide more specific language to the MOS about allowed locations for vertical blade signs only at intersection corners and building massing changes. So staff recommends approval with conditions of modification of standards number 6. Is there a motion for modification of standards number 6?
Move for approval with staff conditions.
And that's Scott. Move for approval. Staff. And Jimmy. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye, Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hathaway is recused. So that motion passes. Motion to approve with staff conditions. Okay, modification of standards number 7 is a request to allow 2 wall hangings, two wall signs per building in addition to the allowed band signs. The applicant is requesting to allow 2 wall signs located at the roof line of a building in addition to the allowed band signs, with only 1 wall sign allowed per frontage. Section 1515 of the zoning ordinance limits wall sign per building facade only if no band signs exist on the building. 2 wall signs located at the roof line of a mixed-use commercial building, limit of 1 per frontage, in addition to the wall signs, could be supported given the size and scale of the proposed development. As a condition of approval, the applicant shall include in the final language that this MOS is limited to buildings of 6 stories or higher. So that's a condition. Staff recommends approval with conditions of modification of standards number 7. Is there a motion for this item?
Move
I'll
for
make a
approval.
motion to approve.
Jenny, what'd you?
I was gonna say, I'll make a motion to approve with staff conditions.
Motion to
Second.
approve with staff conditions. And Marcia, is that you that seconded?
Yes.
So there's a motion to approve with staff conditions. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye, Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr, Michael, Michael. How do you vote, Michael?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
the chairman is recused. That motion passes. So now we're back to the main motion. So we'll do, is there any other discussion? Okay, I didn't think so. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks,
Aye.
Mr. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Salagi,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hathaway is recused. So the motion, the main motion passes. And with great delight, I would like to turn the meeting back over to Chairman Hathaway.
Great job.
I've forgotten how to run a meeting now. It's been so
Hey, Roger did a fabulous job. Great job.
Thank you.
Actually went out to dinner and movie, and it was a great time.
Good.
All right, let's move to item number 9, consideration of ordinance 2020-10, an ordinance to rezone 21.24 acres from regional commercial RC6 to general office GO district to Plan PD 11.35, 12,320 district for the property located south of Oak Meadow Drive and east of South Royal Oaks Boulevard. Staff.
Okay, the applicant is requesting to rezone the property from Regional Commercial 6 and General Office to Planned District 11.5 and 12,320 to accommodate the proposed development plan for Vintage at Watson Glen. The development plan has been submitted concurrently. Envision Franklin places this property in neighborhood mixed-use design concept, and the planned development district is an appropriate base zone for this design concept. Staff recommends approval of ordinance 2020-10 to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right, thank you very much. Staff, is there any public comments?
There is. Let me get them open. So again, this is a summary of emails that were sent, and I've tried to use as much of the original language as possible from the emails. We received emails from B. Cullen, P. Angel, K. Cullen, S. Laurie, R. Carr, J. Lawrence, L. Lawrence, J. Bowler, E. Lee, J. Paisley, and R. Strood. Traffic is already a nightmare and a huge issue in the area. We should not add to that. Traffic congestion takes away from the quality of life for those in the area. Traffic is not something to take lightly and must be taken into account in these decisions. We do not need any more restaurants. We have too many now. We need more green space, not concrete. Until we better understand COVID-19, we should not approve high-density residential. There is not a low student-teacher ratio in Williamson County. Schools are crowded, and we should not add to the issue. Lease-based residential should not be near long-established single-family homes. The public was not informed with enough time to prepare. Small signs hidden in plain sight feel as though you are trying to slip this through, hoping residents won't notice. No public restrooms are provided for the public park. A non-resident would have to park on Oak Meadow Drive and walk through the parking lot to access the park. If ownership changes hands, the restaurant may not be able to access from the multifamily parking lot area. There are other correctly zoned parcels that could be developed. And that's the end of the emails we've received.
Okay, thank you.
Just as a reminder, and to mention, those will all be provided in their entirety in the minutes, all the emails that we received. I'll go to the phone lines now, but I don't think we have anyone on the phone. We have no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, then, is there someone representing the applicant that would like to present the project?
Yes, hi, my name is Greg Gamble and representing the proposal tonight. I know that we have 2 items, but if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and just present once, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. This proposal is a joint venture between Bob Goodall, Warner Bass, and TDK. It's one of the last phases of the Watson Glen subdivision, which was started in late 1990s. I'm joined on the call tonight by Ross Bradley with TDK, Caleb Thorne, and Brandon Baxter with Reagan Smith. Envision Franklin identifies this area as neighborhood mixed use. It is an area of transition between regional commerce to the north and single family policy to the south. On Envision Franklin map, you will see the area in purple of regional commerce, which is really focused along the I-65 corridor. In this area, through Envision Franklin, we have said that we're encouraging a mix of multifamily residential and commercial uses. That same encouragement is in the neighborhood mixed use policy, which encourages new multifamily residential to create lively, walkable neighborhoods near restaurants, shops, grocery stores, and workplaces. You'll see here also in the Envision Franklin map, 2 existing areas of multifamily shown here in orange, and those are also transitional uses between the commercial core along I-65 and the single family residential. The proposed master plan is a mixed use development complementary to the existing development along Oak Meadow and Royal Oaks. We have planned 2 one-story restaurants totaling 7,900 square feet at the intersection of Royal Oaks and Oak Meadow, keeping the one-story relationship with the other buildings at the corner. The restaurants are bordered by a tributary that flows into Watson Branch and provides a natural edge and screening for the parking areas located behind the restaurant. We plan to cross the tributary with a pedestrian bridge that will connect the residential amenity area to the outdoor dining of the restaurant on the corner, and will connect the parking areas to the restaurants, to the mixed use parking for vehicular circulation. So we will have a right-in, right-out located here across the street from the post office that will be an access into the restaurant area, but we will also have full access onto Oak Meadow. We are not permitted by the street standards to have any access points any closer to this intersection. So we're currently at the limits, but we're also aligning our access points on Oak Meadow with existing access points across the street. Summerbee is predominantly 4 stories. It also sits about 10 feet higher than Oak Meadow Drive. The proposed 3-story buildings across Oak Meadow will transition the building height to the south. We'll have 3-story elevations along Oak Meadow, and the ground floor will be at street level. The parking areas are located behind the buildings and are screened from view by the buildings and the preservation of existing trees within the proposed 10-acre park along Watson's Branch, located here to the south. The 10.6-acre park will be privately maintained, but will be open to the public, and will have public access easement over the park. We plan to reinvest some of the parkland dedication fee into the construction of the park amenities. We have reduced the number of apartments to 241 and have approximately 9,500 square feet of non-residential on the ground level. The first 3 buildings closest to Oak Meadow are planned with active first floor uses, including office, fitness, and the residence club. The office areas in the mixed use buildings are not specifically designated just for residents. They are office spaces that may be leased by any small business. Residences located on the ground floor will have stoops or porches with direct access to the sidewalk on Oak Meadow. The sidewalks are interconnected throughout the master plan and will provide connection to the new park and to the commercial businesses to the north. We understand that this development will have an impact on traffic flow on Royal Oaks and Murfreesboro Road. As presented at the conceptual workshop, the arterial road impact fees estimated at $850,000 are proposed to be used to improve intersections on Royal Oaks and address signal timing on Murfreesboro Road. I'm going to skip down to the road improvements. We will add a third right turn lane from Royal Oaks to Murfreesboro Road, and we'll extend the right turn lanes to a length of 1,200 feet. The intersections at Rand Place and Riverside Drive are failing intersections today. Our proposal includes removing the median cut at Rand Place and providing a left-in only at Riverside Drive. These improvements result in a level of service B intersection. All of these improvements will be constructed with this proposal of the development plan of the mixed-use development we're showing here tonight. The safety consideration to add a median on Murfreesboro Road will require more conversation and more study. This improvement, if approved by the board, mayor, and aldermen, will be associated with the future development of the office along I-65 and behind Home Depot. I will point out that this previous proposal for apartments on the property had a traffic report that did not propose road improvements. And it noted in the report that the roadways were sufficient to accept the additional traffic. This is not the case. This proposal is an excellent example of how development can make improvements for growth, leaving the roads better in the future than they are now. In the morning peak hour, as well as in the evening peak hour, if these roads and these intersections are left alone with the next 5-year background traffic added, they would be in worse condition than without the improvements that we're proposing to add. We have held 8 neighborhood meetings with several hundred residents and business owners. It has been stressed to us that the #1 concern is mitigating the traffic on Royal Oaks. Reagan Smith did traffic counts prior to the COVID pandemic and while school was open. They submitted their findings in the traffic study, and it has been reviewed by Adam Mosier with the city and Greg Judy with Neil Schaefer. They have all concurred that the improvements specified are mitigating not only this PUD, but also the additional 195,000 square feet of commercial that's planned behind Home Depot and 5 years of normal city growth. Without these improvements, the intersections from the property to I-65 will continue to dwindle in their level of service. We have also heard through these meetings the appreciation that many neighbors have in the investment of new development on the Royal Oaks corridor. Much of the corridor was constructed toward the end of the 90s, and several buildings are currently without tenants. Vintage of Watson Glen will inspire additional reinvestment within this area and in this corridor. And Diana, you didn't mention there were a couple of comments relative to the schools and impacts to the schools. This is in the Franklin Special School District. The students from this development would be attending Moore Elementary, Freedom Middle, Freedom Intermediate, and Centennial High School. We, with the help of Williamson County Schools and the help of Franklin Special School District, pulled together school data from 2,500 apartment units in the Cool Springs area. Of those 2,500 apartments, they generated 145 students. Based upon that information, this development would be projected to generate 12 students between the ages of kindergarten and 12th grade, senior in high school. With that, I will stop sharing, but I'm happy to come back to the presentation if you have any specific questions about the plan.
All right, thank you very much. So, Commission, this is an opportunity for us to make a motion. Now remember, this is a rezoning recommendation to BOMA. So, do I have a motion?
Recommend approval.
Second, Alma.
All right, Scott Harrison made the motion. Alma, you seconded. Any discussion about the motion? All right, I see none, then we will do our vote. Roll call. Amy, you ready? Okay, all right, Miss Allen,
Aye.
or do I understand it's Mr. Allen? Did I hear that?
Because it sounded like when you say commissioner, it sounded like Mr.
Commissioner.
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Franks, or Miss, it's getting late. Mr. Franks.
It is late. He's gone to bed.
It's like Jimmy John again.
All right, we'll come back to Jimmy. Mr. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay,
Aye.
Miss McLemore,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Miss Peterson,
Aye.
Miss Salaji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Mr. Franks, are you still with us? All right, we will call that an absent vote. Motion passes. All right, item number 10, consideration of resolution 2020-47, a resolution approving a development plan for Vintage at West Glen, Watson Glen PUD subdivision for the property located south of Oak Meadow Drive and east of South Royal Oaks Boulevard. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman. This again is a resolution for the Vintage at Watson Glen. Envision Franklin places this property in the neighborhood mixed-use design concept. The neighborhood mixed-use design concepts provides a diverse mix of high-activity uses with a connected and walkable layout. These centers and corridors should have a coordinated development pattern at a pedestrian scale with high-quality architecture, plazas, sidewalks, and pedestrian and bicycle amenities to activate the street and connect these gathering places to the residential neighborhoods they support. The proposed development meets the goals of the design concept. It has an active commercial corner and first floor commercial in buildings 1, 2, and 3 with multifamily residential units above. The project creates a walkable character both along the sidewalk at Oak Meadow and internally from the multifamily to the restaurant area. A large natural area will be developed with trails and offer a buffer between this development and the existing neighborhood. Existing and future transit routes were discussed on May 12th with planning staff, Franklin Transit Authority, and the developer. And based on section 10-10.3.1 of the Franklin zoning ordinance, it was determined that a transit stop would not be required with this development. Staff recommends approval of resolution 2020-47 with conditions to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and you have attached the staff recommended conditions of approval.
All right, thank you. As staff, is there any comments from email form in this?
It's the same comments that I just read.
Okay, thank you. How about for the phone?
No, there are no callers on the phone.
Okay, so we're not going to give away any prizes for the 9th caller. Okay, then let's see, is anyone representing the applicant that wants to speak on this item?
I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, I like it short and sweet. All right, do I have a motion?
Recommend approval with conditions to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Alma.
Alma, okay, thank you. All right, then the roll call vote will be Mrs. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Franks. All right, we'll come back to Mr. Franks. Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay.
Aye.
Ms. McLemore.
Aye.
Mr. Orr.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson.
Aye.
Mrs. Salaji.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Franks, one last chance. Okay. Jimmy's absent. Motion passes. Any other business? I thought this would be a good chance for us to share our most deep, innermost thoughts for the rest of the night if everybody wants to stick around.
Have we heard any news about Jimmy Wiseman and Andrew Orsby?
Anybody? Stat?
Nothing yet.
I don't think that is public knowledge quite yet.
Probably not.
Not till now, anyway.
Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
I didn't even hear what he said, so I still don't know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to visit your homes. I'm going to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Okay. I'm going to let Mr. Lindsay be the mover and Miss Allen be the second. I guess I have to be official. Miss Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Franks. Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Mr. Lindsay.
Aye.
Miss McLemore.
Aye.
Mr. Orr.
Aye.
Miss Peterson.
Aye.
Miss Szilagyi.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Jimmy is asleep. And we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.